and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
The reality of the energy price cap sinks in as millions of Brits work out how they can afford the huge hike in fuel bills. Money-saving expert Martin Lewis says lives will be lost this winter.
Good morning. It's 6 o'clock on Saturday, the 27th of August. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne. And we're right into the bank holiday weekend, so do let us know what you're up to.
Yeah, do. We're live across the whole of the UK on your TV, your radio, online, wherever you are, whatever you're up to. Don't forget to take us out and about with you today.
Here are your top stories then this morning. With that news on the energy price cap that broke in our show yesterday, today we want to hear from you, our viewers and listeners, about how you feel when you hear about the estimated cost to your bills. What are your plans for the months ahead? And what do you want to hear from our supposed leaders? Please get in touch, gbviews@gbnews.uk.
New developments in the tragic shooting of Olivia Pratt-Corbell in Liverpool. A second arrest is made of a man on suspicion of murder. We'll bring you the latest.
And look, we don't want to be all doom and gloom. We're still in the summer. The weather is due to be rather nice this weekend. This is Britain, and there's still a lot you can do for free, including getting outdoors, enjoying our wonderful countryside and surroundings. The recent rain has brought plants back into bloom, so do send us your photos of you making the most of the British summer, and let us know what you can enjoy for free. Keep it clean.
And we're returning to the moon. After 50 years, NASA's new moon mission will launch from Cape Canaveral this Monday. This is unmanned, it's a test mission, but a subsequent trip in a couple of years is expected to have a full lunar touchdown. Do you remember the first moon landing? Where did you watch it? How old were you? Let us know if you were around back then. I wasn't.
I
actually.
was. I'll never forget it.
No, I bet.
And my children say to me how envious they are that my generation had that incredible moment. A couple of years of absolute unbelievable exploration, feeling so proud just to be human. It was really exciting. So do join in. If you've got lovely memories, let us know what they are. Email us gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Yeah, it'd be exciting if we get back to a proper sort of space racy thing.
Yes, I mean, that's the trouble. It was ridiculously expensive, and we were doing it, you know, before computers had microchips.
Oh.
You know, computers still filled a room. You know, they always say that we sent those men up to the moon with less computing power than is in an average Coke can. And, you know, it was incredible, but that, in a way, is what made it terribly exciting. Now we really should be able to do it in a very splendiferous way. Would you go?
Yes. Oh, you'd have to, wouldn't you? You'd go,
If you were
surely.
oh, yes, I'd go, yeah. I mean, it's highly dangerous, lots of training involved. I wouldn't get past the training now, I guess. But, of course, you'd have to go if there was ever the remotest chance of going.
Yeah, even just a chance to get up into orbit.
Yeah.
Or anything.
Gosh,
I mean,
yes. But to actually land on the moon... I mean, what is absolutely appalling, and that's why the space race was at least good from that point of view, is it made it happen. We had to get to, or we, I said, America basically, had to get there before the Russians, because that was the most important thing at the time. And there isn't the same drive, I suppose. But
well, there's not
wonderful.
quite the same amount, because this is a NASA mission, Artemis 1, isn't it? Which is going to be very interesting in and of itself. But I think what is driving the space race now is the privatised sector. It's Elon Musk versus Jeff Bezos and
Yes, and
Richard
to a
Branson.
certain extent, that is a space race, isn't it? They'll want to be
yeah.
the first to get there, and they've done awfully well so far. Who would have thought we would ever live, oh, we're waxing lyrical now, ever live in a time when, like Thunderbird 1, 2 or 3, I can't remember which one, the one that goes up like that and then lands back down on its tail. And Elon Musk has made that happen, which makes it much more affordable because they can reuse rockets and things like that. No, I think it's absolutely brilliantly exciting to hear that we are determined to get to the moon again.
Yes,
Brilliant.
lovely. It's going to take a while, but we'll get there. Let us know what you think. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Where were you when you watched it? What did you think? What did the effect it had on your family and your parents? I was at school. Sorry, I'm going on now. It's my favourite subject, really.
My friend Gillian, you know Gillian that I used to work with? Yeah. She was born on the day of the moon landing.
Moon landing. Yeah, absolutely amazing, isn't it? What a
Her mother originally...
Her mother must have had one heck of a moment.
Apparently her mother originally wanted to call her Luna.
Well, she should have really, shouldn't she?
But we got
Still
Gillian
can.
instead.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go. There's a little bit of info for you. I was not even a twinkle in my
you
father's
weren't
eye.
such a babe.
So there you go. Anyway, look, gives us something to look forward to, something to smile about
And
this
we
morning.
need
Because
that.
we do need it, don't we? Because the news is pretty grim. And there's been a new warning today that lives could be lost this winter. That's according to money-saving expert Martin Lewis, who was speaking after the announcement yesterday that the energy price cap was going to increase to £3,549 a year from October.
Should we hear what he said on the radio? No, I don't think we can hear it. It says, this is a catastrophe. If we do not get further government intervention on top of what was announced in May, then lives will be lost this winter.
All this coming as Boris Johnson promises there's going to be financial help on the way, saying, of all things, that we're going to have a pipeline of cash.
Of course, we could see this coming, and that's why we've put the steps in place that we already have. And don't forget that although there will be more announcements next month, more cash coming from September onwards, you shouldn't forget that the pipeline of cash stretches out throughout the autumn. So there's going to be another £650 coming for every one of the 8 million most vulnerable households in October. In November, another £300 to help every pensioner, £150 extra for everybody who is entitled to disability benefits, on top of what we're doing with universal credit and the living wage, lifting both of those up. And so cash, there's a pipeline of cash coming through over the next few months and through the autumn and the winter.
It's certainly a sound bite, isn't it? Pipeline of cash, but does it make you feel any better?
When he rolls out those figures, it does add up, but it's the... I mean, I wasn't clear listening to that. Is there the £150 for the people on disability allowances? Do they get all those other figures as well, or the £650 extra?
I think we need to see the detail,
what?
and we need to see it in writing, don't we? We need to see it as an agenda that we'll be able to hold them to. Well, of course, news of this price hike broke during our programme yesterday, and today we want to hear from you, because we are the People's Channel. We'll be speaking to GB viewers and listeners across the morning. First of all, though, our economics editor, Liam Halligan, explains the reasons behind the price hike.
The government says it's working flat out to develop options to help cash-strapped households after this weekend's announcement of Ofgem's new energy price cap. Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi acknowledges that Friday's news of an 80% rise in average household energy bills from October will cause stress and anxiety for many people. But he puts the blame elsewhere.
Putin will continue to use energy as a weapon, as a way of getting back at us for the help we're putting into Ukraine. We need to remain resilient. We need to make sure that this isn't a sticking plaster, that for the long term we continue to help the most vulnerable who have no cushion, and that's what I'm determined to do, and we're working up those options for both households and for business for the incoming Prime Minister on the 5th September.
6 months of war in Ukraine have indeed pushed up wholesale gas prices as Russia's restricted supplies to countries assisting Kiev. As the Kremlin's turned the screw, Western European nations have been stockpiling gas ahead of winter, pushing up prices even more. Regulator Ofgem caps what energy companies can charge households for gas and electricity. Until last October, that cap was around £1,200 a year. In April, it rose to almost £2,000, but has now soared to over £3,500. So average household fuel bills from October will be almost 3 times higher than a year ago. Back in May, ministers announced all households will receive a £400 annual rebate on their energy bills. And certain more vulnerable families already on benefits may qualify for another £650 of targeted assistance. But the government faces criticism that since Boris Johnson resigned as Tory leader in July, the ongoing race to succeed him has been a diversion. Energy campaigners have told me a far more comprehensive support package should already have been in place, ahead of this higher Ofgem price cap.
We haven't got a new government. It's the same party that really, it is absolutely shocking. It's a dereliction of duty to have sat on your hands and to watch this come kind of crashing towards us. I think, look, the urgent issue is to provide immediate support to people on the lowest income. That could be doubling the package that we had in May from then Chancellor Sunak to match the new reality. It could be even more than that. I think that's a no-brainer.
As summer ends, we face an autumn and winter of sky-high utility bills. Ministers will unveil more help, but only once a fresh Prime Minister emerges and a new government's formed after September the 5th. Any assistance package, though, will only partially ease, rather than fully offset, the pain of spiralling energy costs on cash-strapped households and the broader economy.
Well, let's talk to David Bell, who's founder of Macrodisiac, who joins us in the studio. Morning to you. Look, what actually can the government do? Is it just a case of more and more handouts for those who need them, which is an increasing percentage of the population?
I think, in the short term it has to be. But the problem that we've faced, of course, over the last couple of years with COVID and, how the Bank of England has had to effectively print money and then the Treasury goes and provides it to people, is one of the reasons as to why inflation has increased as well. But in the short term, of course, over the winter, I think that the most vulnerable do need handouts to be able to afford these energy bills. However, we're going to have to expect that inflation would remain higher for a bit longer if that does happen.
Yes, I mean, when COVID happened, the government was able to put together a sort of committee of scientists and medics who came up with lots of ideas, and then the government decided which they wanted to follow. You would have thought there are so many economic experts at the moment saying, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Why don't they do the next thing? Do you think there are ways that a good economist could actually help get us out of this?
I don't know, because I feel at the moment the power and gas markets are fundamentally broken. What you're seeing is power traders, they're hedging their risk effectively, which is driving the market higher. Normally, people involved in the market buying and selling and trading gas and power contracts, they're basing it on supply and demand. But at the moment, what they're really pricing is just massive uncertainty. And when that happens, that is what breaks a market. You get, a real lack of liquidity in that market, and you just keep seeing the price go higher.
So how does that in itself get resolved? I mean, is that absolutely dependent on securing the situation with Russia and getting that confidence back?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if there were to be maybe a 20% increase in supply over the next month or so, we would see a considerable gap down in that market, which would, dampen wholesale prices.
But to be realistic, that's not going to happen, is it?
No.
So the next thing is we have to become what they call energy secure. We have to make enough energy of our own to survive. And that's not going to be a very short-term solution either, is it?
Well, this is exactly one of the issues that we're facing, is that over the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen maybe 3 decades of, net zero policy just transferred into that short period. And what this has led to is real underinvestment in the oil and gas industry, which, has kind of created these issues. Of course, there's reliance on Russia. And the other factor there, I guess, is that Europe's facing a massive, massive situation as well. There's a firm called SKW, I think, in Germany, that makes ammonium nitrate fertilizers. And they require a hell of a lot of natural gas to do that. Now, they're saying that they're going to go onto a short-time work from October the 1st, which basically means that they're going to cease production because it just isn't viable for them to continue. So there's a couple of different outcomes here that I think can happen, is that this starts occurring, is that industrial production starts to really shut down. Alongside that, people stop paying their household bills. 2, we get that supply increase. 3, we get governments effectively bailing out the economy again, but then seeing that inflation run higher for longer. Or 4, it does resolve itself. And I'm not convinced that it will, based on a call that the executives and power traders have with the national grid each week. Last week, it was very, very concerning. Javier Blas at Bloomberg ran a piece on this. And he said that the situation amongst electricity traders at the moment is very, very concerning.
But it's interesting, you said, the zero... carbon zero thing had meant a huge underinvestment in oil and gas and coal. But hasn't it meant a huge increase in investment in green energy, which presumably, would provide us with, if that was up and running properly, would provide us with at least more energy security?
The problem with green energy, though, in a place like the UK, is fine in somewhere like Texas, for example. And even then, they had issues last year as well, where you've got a hell of a lot of sun, if you want to do a lot of solar. In the UK, we don't actually have that much wind. We have a hell of a lot of rain, but when it comes to wind and solar, we're really not that good. And the problem with a lot of the renewables, especially solar, is that you can't really store electricity that well.
Apparently
it's very...
we're not very good at storage. We haven't thought of that one yet.
Exactly. But you can store natural gas.
But if there were an even worse crisis, if there was a war going on or something like that, or, God forbid, another COVID happened, we'd have to find a way of supplying money, wouldn't we? We'd have to find a way of getting through it. So why can't the government give this the same sort of priority? Because there's real suffering out there, isn't there?
There is. I think...
in other words, why can't they throw money at it and find the money from somewhere?
Well, they can, and that's what they have been doing over COVID, I guess, is, the Bank of England has just been printing, and then the Treasury has effectively monetised that debt that's been created. I think what will happen now is that the Bank of England has an inflation target of 2% plus or minus 1%. My view would be to forget about targeting inflation so heavily and start to target nominal GDP, because that's really what affects people's lives. If we have good growth but slightly higher price increases, that's okay. That's not so bad. The problem at the moment is that we have low growth. They're trying to target inflation by bringing it down, which brings down growth even further as well. So, you know, try and maybe to have a bit more of a balance towards the growth aspect coming out of this, because I do think there's been a big regime change with all of our economies, not just in the UK, coming from COVID. You know, the US is the same, Europe's the same, Asia's the same.
Yes, everybody's tussling with this problem, aren't they?
Exactly. So it's not just, and this is one of the things that I tend to find. I'm on Twitter quite a lot, and you see a certain subset of people who seem to hate the UK for some reason, but they never look beyond the UK's shores. That's what's happening in, you know, Germany, for example. Germany has just reached a balance of trade of zero, basically. It's in a deficit because the energy prices are so expensive, they're spending everything there. And so people don't realise that. They've got the lowest consumer confidence ever. You know, they've got the lowest industrial production growth ever. But this is, you know, this is all swept under the carpet, and it's always UK's really, really bad. This is, you know, only down to the UK. It's down to even Brexit, which is absolute nonsense, quite frankly. I've seen that be used. So, you know, I think people do need to have a bit more of a broader perspective on the issue to realise that it's not just us being affected, it's not just the government.
But you can only have a long-term perspective or an overall perspective if you're rich enough to sit back and not worry about this.
I totally agree.
That's the problem.
I totally agree.
If you're absolutely panic-stricken, you need help and you need a solution now. And I just wonder if the politicians understand that enough, deeply enough.
No, that's the issue. Hey, look, David, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. But what do you make of it all? Well, let's talk to someone who got in touch with us, GB viewer and listener, John Andrews, who joins us now. John, it's really good to see you this morning. I mean, look, how are you going to cope with all of this? What's happening in your world?
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be able to speak to you two today. We've been looking at our finances since the start of this year. Just normal day-to-day bread, milk, butter has added £25 onto our food shopping bill every week. And me and my wife, we have a working income of £22,500. And just to start off with, our council tax is £1,600. Then the cost of the car, I have a mobility car, and I'm grateful that the government give me an allowance to get the car, because that gives me my freedom because I'm disabled. But even that was at one stage £150 just to fill up the car. I also have an autistic son, so I need that car not just for myself, but for my son to be able to get to school. My wife works and needs to be on the shop floor for 6 a.m. So, as people will know, outside the M25, there is no public transport before 6 a.m. So, there, and then a double whammy, because the prices are going up in October, is we will have our next instalment of our water bill, which is £275. That's a one-off.
John, how do you feel? I mean, you're reeling off these numbers. When you add them up, it must be really frightening thinking that the fuel bill is going to be a whacking... Well, it could... I mean, how much do you think your fuel bill is actually going to go up to?
Well, I was watching your show yesterday morning, like I do every weekend, and Stephen was pointing out like 80% and all that. So I'd done my homework before I came on the show. My bills are going to jump up about £50 a week. That's with the October prices. So my energy bill is going to be looking at about £360 a month. That's going on October's, but that's just a general price cap. As I said, I have an autistic son, so I have no choice but to have the washing machine and the dryer on. You know, there's certain clothing that autistic children, when it touches their skin, so there could be a morning where he will wake up and I need to quickly, even though they're clean and dry, we'll have to put his clothes back in the tumble dryer just for 2 minutes so that he can put on, so because of the texture on his skin. And I've got the lighting on now, but you'll have rich people out there saying, well, these people need to make cuts, and I agree with that. And like my wife yesterday has dug out candles that we've just had, that we've never used in the cupboard. So, you know, come October, we're like not sitting in the dark, but you know, we're going to use candles to keep the bills down.
What did you make of the Prime Minister yesterday saying, yeah, there's a pipeline of cash on the way? And he did talk about... Oh, we're tipping over, don't worry. No, don't worry. But he talked about a pipeline of cash and saying, I mean, certainly, which would, I guess, apply to you, that people on some disability allowances could get £650, on some of £400. I mean, will that make a significant difference to you, or is it just a drop in the ocean now?
But there's going to be people screaming at your TV screen right now, like me and my wife, who, in the pandemic, even though we have such a low family income, because we wasn't on universal credit, we didn't get that £20 a week that people on universal credit got. Our son doesn't get free school meals. And what I would like to see this time round is help with the bills. I've never asked for anything. And
furlough scheme or like what happened during the pandemic, you actually just need cash to help pay your bills.
Well, I'm one of these red wall voters, and I've always voted in the national interest. I voted Blair in '97, me and the wife, to help with the NHS. And then when the Labour left a note in their safe saying money run out, we voted for Cameron. But this one time in our life when we are going to need help, if we don't get that help, we will never be able to bring ourselves to vote for the Conservatives again. You know, I'm not saying that just lightly, but, you know, this one time that we are really going to suffer with our energy prices. You know, if the new contenders like Liz is watching today, don't forget people down the bottom end. You know, you bring us along with you, we're going to vote for you in the next election. But if you desert us and we're really going to struggle this winter, then people like me, we voted for Boris, you know, and if they're looking at us now, don't leave us behind, you know, help us. Or we just can't bring ourselves to vote for you in 2 years' time. So it's going to be a case of help us now, or Labour will get in, and me and my wife will just carry on voting Labour. Yeah.
Well, look, you make a valid point. John, we really appreciate you talking to us today, and of course we send you all our best wishes for the whole family, and let's hope that help is on its way. Thank you very much indeed.
And for anyone else who's watching or listening, GBViews at gbnews.uk, do you think what was said there should be edited and packaged up and sent to Number 10, or at least Conservative head office, and said, do you get this?
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. We should maybe do that anyway.
He is literally just saying, I vote in the national interest, which is a wonderful way to say it, not in a selfish interest, but in the national interest. But if you leave us behind now, we can't vote for you again, and Labour will get in.
Yeah.
I think we should edit that and send it to Conservative Central Office, I really do.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's when you look at that, and that's the reality. It's why we want to talk to you today, because it's about the reality that people are facing. And there he is, you know, his wife's out working from 6 o'clock in the morning. He's on disability allowance. The son's got autism. They've got all these extra pressures on the family. They've got low income. And what are they meant to do with all this? What are they meant to do? Horrific, actually.
It really is upsetting.
That's just one example.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for taking part.
Keep your thoughts coming through, gbviews at gbnews.uk. Let's just bring you up to date with some other headlines this morning. And the government's announced a new plan, £56 billion of capital investment to crack down on sewage spills. It's going to be spread over 25 years. Under the proposals, water companies in the UK are going to face tough targets to minimise pollution.
Over 900 people have been killed in Pakistan in floods that have affected more than 30 million people over the last few weeks. The country's climate minister has called it an humanitarian disaster of epic proportions and says the heavy rainfall is climate-induced. Pakistan's urging the international community to help with relief efforts as it struggles with the aftermath.
A car used by Diana, Princess of Wales, is going to be sold at auction today. It's a black Ford Escort RS Turbo and was driven by Princess Diana from 1985 to 1988. It's being sold by Silverstone Auctions and is being offered with no reserve price.
One careful lady owner?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I didn't know she drove about in a Ford Escort. She'd be a princess at that point. She wanted to marry, 81.
Saw her sort of drive around in her Mini when she was engaged.
Oh, yes, yeah.
But, no, I didn't know she had a little car of her own.
No, it'd be interesting to know what it goes for.
And where's it been all this time as well?
It looks in pristine condition.
It does, yeah, but it still looks old.
Oh, yeah. Those boxy cars.
Very boxy, weren't they?
Was that just the fashion or just the way they
they were all a bit like that, I think. Yeah. You just bought a new car.
I have just, well, yeah, I mean, it sounds extravagant, doesn't it? But I had to get a new car because my other car had to go back. So I had to, and I needed, a bit like John, I've got, if I don't have a car, I can't get to work.
Yes, absolutely. Good luck filling it up, though.
But this is the problem. This is the thing. It just, I mean, mind you, prices are coming down a bit. I've just been in Spain, and I'll tell you what they do there, and I'm not saying our government should do the same, because I don't know how the economics are working in Spain. But there, the price, they've got the same similar petrol prices to us, a bit cheaper, but similar. And then when you fill up, they automatically take 25 cents a litre off the bill.
How?
The government pays it.
Oh. So you sort of pay the full whack and then you realise how much you're getting back?
Yeah, so you sort of, it comes upon the pump as one amount, but then when you get to the till, it's 25 cents a litre off.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why they do it that way. Do you come away feeling warm and glowing about the government?
Well, yeah. Tell you what, you think, wow, this is great. I thought it was going to cost me, I don't know, 90 euros, and it comes away
that would help, wouldn't it?
60 or whatever. So, yeah, so they're affording to do that. They're doing a lot in Spain, actually. Why can't we do it? Well,
I suppose during their summer they don't have the same energy costs. I don't know. Probably not during the winter either.
No, there's an awful lot of people over there getting solar panels put in.
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not? It's going to...
We used to have the solar panel thing was subsidised, wasn't it? And a lot of people put solar panels in when it was hugely subsidised, actually, about 10 or 15 years ago, and then they stopped the subsidy. That was probably not the best move now when you look back.
Not the best time, when you think about it. Elon Musk, of all people, now makes, he's done it for a while, solar panels that look like roof tiles.
That's brilliant and should have been done a long time ago. Because a lot of people, when they, especially those early solar panels, a little bit ugly. Not that that matters quite so much as the horrendous heating bills we're all going to have to face. But that's interesting. So they look like...
Just look like roof tiles.
Roof tiles,
So why don't they now just build all houses with those built in?
And the other thing that's possible, which I don't know whether we are moving ahead with, is, now, I don't know what the word is now, but they're basically solar panels, but they are glass.
Oh.
So you build buildings with this. It looks like glass. You can see through everything, but they are solarised or whatever.
Yeah.
And the idea was, I remember reading about it a few years ago, the idea was we build skyscrapers with this sort of glass, and that skyscraper becomes incredibly, almost completely energy efficient.
See, that's the way. That's what we need to do.
Have we been investing enough years ago in future projects?
Probably not. Anyway, let us know what you think. Got lots coming up for you. But first, let's have a look at the weather.
Good morning. Alex Deacon here with your latest weather update. This weekend, a bank holiday for many of us, is looking pretty dry, with most of us seeing some decent spells of sunshine as well. High pressure is slowly but surely moving in. There are some weather fronts which are closing in on the northwest. They'll increase the cloud here today, but generally it is set fair. Now, I say generally because there will still be one or two scattered showers around, certainly across parts of northern England this morning, and even this afternoon as we go into the evening across parts of the Midlands and southern England. One or two showers here and there, but I say most places aren't going to see those showers. Many will just stay dry and bright with sunny spells. in the sunshine. Feeling pretty warm by this afternoon. It's got a fresh start out there this morning, especially in western Scotland, but by this afternoon, 18, 19 here. Elsewhere, we're over 20 Celsius, and in the south, by this afternoon, widely into the mid-20s, so feeling pretty pleasant in those sunny spells. That weather front will bring a bit of rain to the north of Northern Ireland this afternoon and spread into parts of western Scotland, the Highlands, the Western Isles, maybe into Argyll for a time before that continues to push northwards through the night. Otherwise, it's another dry night. Some mist and fog, just like we had last night, but that should clear pretty quickly on Sunday morning. Temperatures mostly holding up in double digits, so slightly warmer than last night, and Sunday will be slightly warmer than today. We will see a bit of a breeze just starting to pick up along the south coast. That's going to be a feature of the weather, more particularly into Monday. Will be quite cloudy across northern Scotland, still with some patchy rain. And again on Sunday, tomorrow afternoon, there might just be one or two scattered showers over northern England. But most places, dry and bright, sunny spells, a little warmer, widely over 20 Celsius. Again in the south, 24, 25, maybe 26 Celsius. Feeling cool on that south coast with that breeze, though. And that stiff wind will be a feature of the weather into Bank Holiday Monday as well. Again, most places will be dry with spells of sunshine.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
.35, we've waffled on a bit this morning. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Well, it is a bank holiday weekend, and that, of course, I'm afraid, means motorway queues, car games and service station food. Are you planning to get away anywhere? Are you listening to us in the car right now, off somewhere exciting?
Oh, we might.
Well, the AA is giving drivers warnings because 15 million of us are going to be on the roads.
Well, let's talk to Edmund King, president of the AA, who joins us now. Really good to see you this morning. So what does this amber warning mean that you've issued today?
Yeah, good morning. We always find this August bank holiday, it's incredibly busy on the roads. It's the last chance for people to get away before schools go back, and it's almost the end of the summer holidays. So an amber traffic warning means that the main routes, the main holiday routes, will be congested. And you know, as ever, it's M4, M5 near Bristol, people going down to the southwest, Devon and Cornwall. It's the west side of the M25, surprise, surprise, that's always busy when people are getting away. It's the M60 up in the north, it's the M6, M42 around Birmingham. So basically, an amber warning is that drivers should be really prepared before they set off.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of all sounds a bit nightmarish, but people still do it, don't they? Have you ever been stuck in a car with the kids in the back going, are we there yet, are we there yet? And you're trying desperately to think of ways to keep them amused?
Well, indeed, yeah. I think at times it's happened to all of us, particularly on bank holidays, trying to get away. You get stuck in the traffic's not moving. You have to keep the kids entertained. So what we advise is prepare your car, prepare yourselves before you set off. So prepare your car, check out things like your tyre pressures, your windscreen wiper fluid, your oil, check that all out. Check your route. You know, you can get alternative routes. And one thing we're also saying, we find at the AA, when people break down, almost 40% of people don't really know where they are. They really struggle. Well, I've just passed Kendal in the Lake District, but I'm not sure what road I'm on. And there really is a good solution. There's a free app called What 3 Words. And what it basically does, it divides the world up into 57 trillion 3-meter squares. So for every location, you just press the app and it gives 3 words. And then if you give your breakdown operator those 3 words, they can pinpoint exactly where you are. So it's incredibly useful in a breakdown, because if you're at a festival, you're the other side of a big field. It's quite difficult to find you if you've broken down. But if you give the What 3 Words location, you can be pinpointed 3 meters. So we use that, the emergency services use it. So again, it's just part of that planning to get yourself prepared if the worst happens, that you can get help to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, very good idea.
Brilliant.
Edmund, thank you very much indeed. Always good to talk to you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Oh, excuse me.
I discovered a new I discovered a new place yesterday. I just thought I love collecting odd little village names.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I found myself driving yesterday through Kimblewick and Owlswick.
Owlswick?
Yeah. And I thought, I wonder what wick means. Maybe it means a stream or a river or a bridge or something like that. It's an name, obviously. But Kimblewick and Owlswick.
Yeah, that sounds
They're
interesting.
2 good ones, aren't they? I love collecting odd village names.
Yeah. Were you aware of What 3 Words?
No.
Yeah, I remember I had the founder of that I spoke to, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now. Yeah, because they have. You look at it, it's every point of the globe is mapped into these 3-meter squares.
Well, what sort of 3 words would they be?
Any old thing.
What, like motorway, Kimblewick?
Oh, yeah.
Tree? No.
I don't know if
I mean, what would it be?
I don't know if I've got the app now.
I mean, it's brilliant. Why not?
But it's things like, chair, lamp, sausage.
Well, that wouldn't tell the AA where to come and get you.
Yeah, it would.
Down.
Yeah, it does.
It couldn't. How could that
Because then you put that in. Each block has its own unique set of 3 words in that order, and then you put it in, and it will shows you where you are.
Oh, and I'd like to see that demonstrated. That sounds fascinating.
I shall show her in a moment. Now, from that to the very latest on the situation in Liverpool, and with.
Yeah.
Oh no! I tell you what, we'll talk about that. But actually, we'll just put out that Chris has been in touch and said my childhood from 1994 was lived in Liverpool until I left in '66. I saw a different city. Today is a sad day for my home city. It's now time for the people of Liverpool to clean up this savagery around them. There's a lot of gang issues in some parts of Liverpool, and particularly sort of around in Notty Ash and what have you. So we'll bring the latest on the situation.
Yeah, we'll deal with that a bit later. But do stay with us, because coming up, we've got all the news and views from this morning's newspapers.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know. The latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. I'm just taking you through what
Been
three
showing
words.
you the app. Yes. Actually,
Yeah.
no, that is quite impressive. I didn't quite realise it was that way around, but we'll talk about it maybe later. But if you've got that app, all you have to say, you look it up, where you are, 3 words, and they can immediately find you. That's brilliant.
Clever, isn't it?
Very.
Anyway, let's take you through the papers this morning. Lives will be lost, says The Guardian. Start words come from consumer champion Martin Lewis as he condemned the inaction of ministers.
Well, the Mirror adds to that, telling the government, for heaven's sake, do something.
The Mail says the energy crisis could wipe out savings for 6 million families as the price cap increased by nearly £1,600 yesterday.
So let's go through the papers now, shall we? Joining us this morning, former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and author and journalist James Bloodworth. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Happy days, happy headlines, I don't think.
Happy bank holiday.
Yes,
kind of.
Well, James, kick us off then with the energy crisis. In The Guardian this morning, what are they saying?
Yeah, so, I mean, The Guardian's quoting money-saving expert Martin Lewis, who's saying lives will be lost unless action is taken to help households with the rising energy bills. The Guardian's also got a headline, incomes of poorer households could be wiped out this winter. I think we're kind of now getting to some kind of figures on the extent of the energy crisis. So the Guardian quotes a Joseph Rowntree Foundation report, which says that in the coming months, single parents will have to pay out almost 2/3 of their income on energy costs. And this is going to leave many people destitute. Bills are going to be around £2,200 higher than last year, and average bills are set to rise by £500 a month. Well, those on payment meters, it's going to be about £700 a month.
I know they get charged a lot more.
Yeah,
which is really unfair.
And it tends to be lower income households on the prepayment meters. I don't think it's an exaggeration because it seems quite a doom and gloom headline, but homelessness has increased by 11% this year already before the energy crisis. Rents have been rising since the end of the pandemic. And many people just will not be able to afford these energy bills, and it will be a choice between paying for food or paying to heat their homes this winter. And let's really hope that we don't get a severely cold winter.
Yeah, no, it's utterly,
That's
utterly
only a hope.
depressing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
just
just pot luck.
Meanwhile, let's have a look at something totally different.
Stop the world, I want to get off.
Yes.
Because in a few years' time, that might be the case. This is The Times, and this is about NASA's Orion spacecraft, which is supposedly, depending on the weather, obviously, if it's raining a bit, won't happen, taking off from Kennedy Space Centre on Monday. It's £37 billion worth of gear we're sending up there. It's going to spend 42 days in space, and it is going to the dark side of the moon and then coming back again. It's unmanned. My favourite statement in this whole piece, lots of words on this, is from the mission controller who goes, well, There is high probability of a loss of mission.
Yeah.
So, wouldn't possibly want to be on it in any case. But it's a 1.3 million mile test mission, and it's preparing for sending humans back to the moon. And
it's basically going to do an Apollo 8, isn't it?
It's basically our new Apollo. That's what they're saying. But I mean, I was trying to avoid that because some people might not be old enough to remember that.
Eight did a circle of 8 round. It went round the Earth, to the moon, round the moon, and back again. And it was the trial run in the same way.
Absolutely.
Apollo 11.
Well, it's preparing for a colony on the moon. In theory, that we can then go on from the moon to explore Mars. And it's called Artemis, which I like this line as well. It's called Artemis because that's Apollo's twin sister.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Absolutely. As for in Greek mythology, obviously, and there's speculation that it could be the first woman on the moon.
Yeah.
Well, it will have to be this time, won't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you go, Anne?
The crew would have to tick all sorts of politically correct boxes.
They would be, wouldn't they? Yeah, it was a diverse.
Would I go? Oh, yes.
Would
my
you?
Goodness, I'd like a shot.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'd have to. If offered, you'd have to, wouldn't you? You couldn't say no.
Yeah.
I'd be curious as to why they offered me, to be honest.
Well, you never know. You never know. And a lot of people will probably be saying, why spend all this money?
Well, they just will.
They just will.
Anyway.
But also, it's a lot of space exploration has brought us a lot of benefits.
The technology.
As well.
Yeah.
And so
it moves everything forward, doesn't it?
It could actually help, though, at the moment.
Well, people are already saying with this, I mean, it is fascinating, but people are already saying it's like, oh, what about the environment? What about the green issues? But as you quite rightly point out, Stephen, space exploration has brought so much technology that will hopefully enable us to deal with the climate changes that are happening.
Aspirations either, even in the darkest and most dismal of times. I mean, some of the poorest countries on the planet now have space programs, don't they? So you can't stop man aspiring. However, we've only got time for one more story because we're running a bit short of time right now. Too much to talk about. What should we go for, Stephen?
I say, because we've looked to the future, what about looking to the past and Stonehenge, James?
Yeah, so the TV historian Dan Snow has basically said that to get to the point, Stonehenge is kind of overrated. He said it's not a top tier. He's questioned its status as a top tier tourist attraction, and I kind of agree with him. It is. I think it is something you should visit. But then I visited it, and it's kind of a bit like this is interesting, but I've come all this way, and is this kind of it? You can't walk right up to the stones. You kind of have to stand on this viewing platform. I think it's a great site, but I do tend to agree with him that there are more interesting places to visit in Britain.
He's suggesting Durham Cathedral.
Not everybody
I've never been
goes
there.
to cathedrals,
No.
do they?
No.
I
think Bath is near to Stonehenge, and I think Bath is a historic city.
You could stop off on the way.
Yeah, I think if you had to choose, though.
Well, Salisbury's very close to Stonehenge.
Yes, and that's
beautiful.
wonderful.
It is nice, yeah.
Beautiful.
We'll talk about this tomorrow because I would like to know where is the best county in Britain.
Oh, that's obvious.
Somerset, of course.
You see?
Somerset.
Cumbria.
Worcestershire.
London.
There you go.
Is London a county?
Well, I'm never quite sure, because when you're filling in those forms, it says what county you're in.
Greater London is.
It's Greater London. I think it must. I don't know.
No, it's Cumbria, obviously, because it's beautiful. You've got the Lake District and all the rest of it.
And it rains a lot. Just saying.
Yeah,
it rains a lot everywhere, even in London. Oh, gosh. You see, it's going to be controversial. Get yourself ready. We'll talk about this tomorrow, I reckon.
Lovely. I'm sorry it's been a bit short, but we'll see you two for a longer one.
Yes,
next
later on.
hour. Dawn and James, thank you.
Now, are we in Britain being lured into a false sense of security? Research shows since the popular true life documentaries like The Tinder Swindler and Inventing Anna, Brits have changed their outlook on fraud, and we're all a bit more aware and more cautious.
Well, the research published today by global identity verification provider Onfido revealed as many as 2 out of 3 consumers believe TV shows have changed their outlook on fraud.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it? For more now, let's speak to fraud specialist for Onfido, Simon Horswell, who hopefully will be able to talk us through this business of being more aware of the different types of scams. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hello. We in my family have a sort of WhatsApp group where we're all alerting each other to various frauds that have come through on the mobile phone or texts or WhatsApps or whatever. That's a good thing, isn't it, that we're all more aware and alerting each other?
Definitely. The shows you've been talking about, I think they raise public's awareness, which is only a good thing. One of the big problems that you have with fraud is that quite often it can isolate the victims. And if we don't share the knowledge, then people can get caught out more easily.
Do you think a lot of people are worried about admitting that they have been conned?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a stigma attached. You can end up feeling gullible, and some of the terms that we use when we're talking about victims of fraud can kind of reinforce that. But these kind of scams that we see engineered, they're designed specifically to catch people. They work on some of our fears and our weaknesses. They're purposely built to try and entice you in. And just greater awareness and putting the word out about how they're perpetrated is the best way to prevent them.
It's funny, isn't it? I mean, they probably still exist, but it's all come a long way since the, hidden prince stuck in the middle of Africa wants to release several £1 million into your account. It's all become a bit more sophisticated since then.
Yes, definitely. The thing is, many of the scams that we're still seeing around today, they're not necessarily new, but they're becoming more obvious to the public, and the awareness is increasing. But all of these scams get improved over time. We see small tweaks here and there, or they add a new layer to it, and it just makes it harder sometimes.
And it's interesting watching as well the way different industries, banks, for instance, are constantly updating you when you try and go on your own banking app or something like that. They're constantly telling you, are you sure? We will never ask you for this sort of detail. Don't fall for it. And then some of them even ask you, are you sure you want to pay out this amount of money to so-and-so? Are they a friend? Are they a family member? You have to sort of almost answer a security system before you're allowed to actually deal with your own money. But that's good, again, that they are alerting us, and they are clearly also very aware.
Yeah, very much so. They're some of the industries that will see the pain of fraud. So we have the individuals, but then we also have the businesses that suffer from this as well. And I think we're talking about last year, there was reported losses of about 1.3 billion. So it's no small figure. And this kind of impact, it hurts the individual. It has a significant impact emotionally and financially. But then when we see the impact on businesses as well, that's ultimately going to get passed on to the consumer. So it's in everyone's interest to try and stop this.
Yeah, absolutely is. Simon, really good to talk to you this morning. Thanks very much indeed. We all need to stay aware of these things.
Moon landing, says
yes,
Nigel.
Go on.
I remember it so well. We'd had a family day out and we were just dropping Nan off at home whilst listening to the car radio as we heard the words, "The Eagle has landed." A moment my 14-year-old self will never forget.
Car radios in 1969?
It was more like, "The Eagle has landed," wasn't
it? Bet says, I was on a holiday in Bulgaria, still under communist rule at the time, and knew the moon landing would take place. I asked the waiter if the landing had been successful. He said yes, but the Russians had landed first.
Ooh.
Had to wait until returning to the UK to discover the US landing had been a success and the Russians had not gone to the moon.
Yeah, there you go. Jill says, I remember the first moon mission. I was in Gothenburg in Sweden when my mum and dad were visiting mum's friend who had rented a TV specially to watch the moon landing. Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget it either.
And then there is Joff, who is a conspiracy theorist, aren't you, Joff? Come on, no man or person has ever set foot on the moon. It's the biggest scam in the world.
Yeah, it ain't. They landed. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting, though, isn't it? Because it's like, how do you prove it? I did see a thing once about why can't we zoom in and see the flag?
You can. Well, the flag's actually fallen down, apparently. Oh. Well, the first flag, but there have been several. But you can. I mean, if you had a telescope strong enough, you can. And people in professional telescopes can. And my dad was working in that sort of business at the time, tracked Apollo 11 all the way to the moon.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And you can still send radar signals up there and they bounce off the equipment that's left on the moon. They landed on the moon. I feel a bit like Buzz Aldrin, who gets very annoyed by people who say he actually just punches them in the nose.
Does he really?
Oh, yeah, he actually did it once.
Yeah. There you go. Look, we'll try and keep things as light as we can amidst all the doom and gloom in the headlines today, but we will bring you all those headlines in a couple of minutes after the weather.
Good morning, Alex Deegan here with your latest weather update. This weekend, a bank holiday for many of us is looking pretty dry, with most of us seeing some decent spells of sunshine as well. High pressure is slowly but surely moving in. There are some weather fronts which are closing in on the northwest. They'll increase the cloud here today, but generally it is set fair. Now, I say generally because there will still be one or two scattered showers around, certainly across parts of northern England this morning, and even this afternoon as we go into the evening across parts of the Midlands and southern England. One or two showers here and there, but I say most places aren't going to see those showers. Many will just stay dry and bright with sunny spells. In the sunshine, feeling pretty warm by this afternoon. It's quite a fresh start out there this morning, especially in western Scotland, but by this afternoon, 18, 19 here. Elsewhere, we're over 20 Celsius, and in the south, by this afternoon, widely into the mid-20s, so feeling pretty pleasant in those sunny spells. That weather front will bring a bit of rain to the north of Northern Ireland this afternoon and spread into parts of western Scotland, the Highlands, the Western Isles, maybe into Argyll for a time before that continues to push northwards through the night. Otherwise, it's another dry night. Some mist and fog, just like we had last night, but that should clear pretty quickly on Sunday morning. Temperatures mostly holding up in double digits, so slightly warmer than last night, and Sunday will be slightly warmer than today. We will see a bit of a breeze just starting to pick up along the south coast. That's going to be a feature of the weather, more particularly into Monday. Will be quite cloudy across northern Scotland, still with some patchy rain. And again on Sunday, tomorrow afternoon, there might just be one or two scattered showers over northern England. But most places, dry and bright, sunny spells, a little warmer, widely over 20 Celsius. Again in the south, 24, 25, maybe 26 Celsius. Feeling cool on that south coast with that breeze, though. And that stiff wind will be a feature of the weather into Bank Holiday Monday as well. Again, most places will be dry with spells of sunshine.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GBNews.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
The reality of the energy price cap sinks in as millions of Brits work out how they can afford the huge hike in fuel bills. Money-saving expert Martin Lewis says lives will be lost this winter.
Morning to you. It is 7 o'clock on Saturday, the 27th of August. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne. We are now fully into the bank holiday weekend, so let us know what you're up to.
Yeah, we're live across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio. So if you're setting off on some sort of a trip for the bank holiday, you can take us with you. Here are your top stories this morning.
But with that news on the energy price cap that broke in our show yesterday, today we're hearing from you, our viewers and listeners, about how you feel when you hear about the cost of your bills, what they're likely to be coming up. What are your plans for the months ahead? What do you want to hear from our leaders? Get in touch. Let us know. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
There are new developments in the tragic shooting of little Olivia Pratt-Corbell in Liverpool. A second arrest has been made of a man on suspicion of murder. We'll bring you the latest.
And we don't want it all to be doom and gloom today. We're still in the summer. The weather's due to be nice this weekend. This is Britain after all, and there's a lot you can do, and you can do it for free, of course. Getting outdoors, enjoying our surroundings. The plants are back in bloom after the recent rain. So send us your pictures of you making the most of this British summer, and let us know what you can do around your area for free.
And we're going back to the moon. Yes, you really did hear that correctly. After 50 years, NASA's new moon mission will launch from Cape Canaveral this Monday. This mission is unmanned, but it is the forerunner for a subsequent trip in a couple of years' time, which is going to have a crew on board, and they're going to touch down on the moon. And I'm asking, or we're both asking actually, reminiscing, what do you remember from the first moon landing? Can you remember where you were when you watched it, and what did you think? We all thought that we were going to walk around from there onwards with the sort of silver wigs and in silver jumpsuits.
Yes.
We were going to be space-agey people.
Yeah, never quite worked out like that. More's the pity. Anyway, anything you want to talk about, and in some respects, the lighter the better today to cheer our mood. But we will, of course, cover anything serious that you want to talk about, particularly about the energy price cap. At gbviews@gbnews.uk. We're talking about what three words earlier on, that app, which locks everything into 3 metre square. So you can get a very, a very specific area of where you are.
We were talking to Edmund King from the AA, and he said that when a lot of people, when they break down and they ring up for help, they literally do not know where they are and have a lot of trouble sometimes telling whatever rescue services are around, where they probably are and where they could be found. Well, there's this app.
Yeah, so it breaks everything into 3 metre squares across the entire globe, and each one has a unique identifier, which are 3 separate words. Random words, but interesting. You've got to be very careful with this. So Ali's messaged and said, I have the What 3 Words app and just logged in to see what it said for my location, and he's given us the location. Very random. They are random words. I was going to say, I'm not going to read them out because...
Why?
Because I can see exactly where he is.
Oh, I see. But they are very random words.
Up north, and in fact, if I click on that, I can see you were stood on your driveway when you did it.
You could actually pin down where he was. So you could pin down whether he was sitting in his living room watching the telly or out on the driveway.
Yeah, stood out on the driveway.
That is fascinating.
And I don't know how recent that picture is, but it looks like you've got a car with a red roof, which
I
is
did
very
the
nice.
same yesterday. I was trying to find where I was going, and so I Google mapped my journey.
Oh, yeah.
And I went and then it showed my house where I was, ultimately going to end up. And I pressed the little thing, and up came a picture which can only have been taken a few days ago, because I could recognise the state of the garden hedge and the front garden.
Oh.
It was completely overgrown. I mean, it was really getting in everybody's way, actually. So that picture must have been taken only about a week or so ago.
Right.
So it's Google. Google vans are going around all the time taking pictures, aren't they?
Yeah, it's constantly updating.
Ooh, it's a bit spooky.
It is a bit spooky, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've ever seen yourself on any of those sort of googly things, let us know. Sometimes you get a glimpse of yourself on them.
Yes.
There's a screenshot.
Anne has got in touch. She says the cost of living, more media hype every day, which is frightening people out of their wits. We need to approach this more calmly. Do you agree? Is it?
do you know what? I agree with that, except for the point we do need to approach it sensibly and calmly, but we can't not talk about it.
No. Because it's worrying a lot of people.
Yeah, but anyway.
Not actually, not just people at any end of the spectrum. I think everybody is worried about it.
Everyone's worrying about it.
And asking our politicians to actually, get up and do something about it.
Yeah, so Anne, I wonder what you make of this, and money-saving expert, consumer expert, Martin Lewis, who said that lives could be lost this winter. He was talking after the announcement that the energy price cap was going to increase to more than £3,500 from October.
When he was speaking on the radio, he said this is a catastrophe. If we do not get further government intervention on top of what was announced in May, then lives will be lost this winter.
Well, that all comes as the Prime Minister promises that there is help on the way. He said we're going to have a pipeline of cash.
Of course, we could see this coming, and that's why we've put the steps in place that we already have. And don't forget that although there will be more announcements next month, more cash coming from September onwards, you shouldn't forget that the pipeline of cash stretches out throughout the autumn. So there's going to be another £650 coming for every one of the 8 million most vulnerable households in October. In November, another £300 to help every pensioner, £150 extra for everybody who is entitled to disability benefits, on top of what we're doing with universal credit and the living wage, lifting both of those up. And so cash, there's a pipeline of cash coming through over the next few months and through the autumn and the winter.
Well, does that inspire you with confidence? Because, of course, if you were watching yesterday, news of this price hike broke during the programme yesterday. And today, we thought, rather than just talk to the politicians about it, we'd love to hear from you, because we are the People's Channel, very proud of that. And we'll be speaking to GB viewers and listeners right across the morning. First of all, though, our economics editor, Liam Halligan, explains the reason behind this price hike.
The government says it's working flat out to develop options to help cash-strapped households after this weekend's announcement of Ofgem's new energy price cap. Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi acknowledges that Friday's news of an 80% rise in average household energy bills from October will cause stress and anxiety for many people. But he puts the blame elsewhere.
Putin will continue to use energy as a weapon, as a way of getting back at us for the help we're putting into Ukraine. We need to remain resilient. We need to make sure that this isn't a sticking plaster, that for the long term we continue to help the most vulnerable who have no cushion, and that's what I'm determined to do, and we're working up those options for both households and for business for the incoming Prime Minister on the 5th of September.
6 months of war in Ukraine have indeed pushed up wholesale gas prices as Russia's restricted supplies to countries assisting Kiev. As the Kremlin's turned the screw, Western European nations have been stockpiling gas ahead of winter, pushing up prices even more. Regulator Ofgem caps what energy companies can charge households for gas and electricity. Until last October, that cap was around £1,200 a year. In April, it rose to almost £2,000, but has now soared to over £3,500. So average household fuel bills from October will be almost 3 times higher than a year ago. Back in May, ministers announced all households will receive a £400 annual rebate on their energy bills. And certain more vulnerable families already on benefits may qualify for another £650 of targeted assistance. But the government faces criticism that since Boris Johnson resigned as Tory leader in July, the ongoing race to succeed him has been a diversion. Energy campaigners have told me a far more comprehensive support package should already have been in place, ahead of this higher Ofgem price cap.
We haven't got a new government. It's the same party that really, it is absolutely shocking. It's a dereliction of duty to have sat on your hands and to watch this come kind of crushing towards us. I think, look, the urgent issue is to provide immediate support to people on the lowest income. That could be doubling the package that we had in May from then Chancellor Sunak to match the new reality. It could be even more than that. I think that's a no-brainer.
As summer ends, we face an autumn and winter of sky-high utility bills. Ministers will unveil more help, but only once a fresh Prime Minister emerges and a new government's formed after September the 5th. Any assistance package, though, will only partially ease, rather than fully offset, the pain of spiralling energy costs on cash-strapped households and the broader economy.
Liam Halligan there. Well, let's talk to one of our viewers and listeners, Dennis Archer, who joins us now. Dennis, really good to see you this morning. What do you make of all of this? What are your plans for the winter and what you're going to do with fuel?
I think basically I won't be able to pay it. So what do we do? The cap's gone up from 1,200 a year ago to 3,600. They're not giving us 2,400 a year lump sum into our bank accounts to pay it. So how are we going to pay it? We can't pay it.
You're not terribly impressed
ridiculous.
with... I take it you're not terribly impressed with Ofgem.
Well, Ofgem's totally incapable of doing its job. It's never done its job. It's never regulated. I don't think it understands the industry. I used to work in the industry, so I've got sort of a bit of an insight into it. And it's just ridiculous, anyway, that we're using oil prices to dictate the price of coal generation. Even coal, that dirty coal, it's just ridiculous.
So, I mean, what did you do in the business, Dennis?
I was an instrument mechanic, then a supervisor in a power station.
All right, so you do know how it all operates.
Yeah.
Then a lot more than most of us. I mean, what do you think, if you're not happy with what Ofgem is doing, what do you think they should be doing? What are they getting wrong?
They're just not keeping control of the energy market at all. I think they just sat back on they're getting paid big salaries to sit there as a regulator, and they don't do anything. The generators and the foreign companies, because most of the companies are owned by nationalised French and German companies, they're just dictating whatever price they want, and it's just unbelievable. And it's a ceiling. The thing is that the limit, or the energy limit, is a ceiling, but it's not a ceiling now. It seems to be a target for the energy companies. They're aiming for that.
Do you think we should have done much, much more years ago about thinking of the future and making our country more energy secure, making our own energy?
Well, we should have, absolutely we should have done. We should have never nationalised it for a start. And then when we nationalised it, the regulator should have never allowed foreign companies to invest so heavily in our energy companies. They should have been British companies. But they're not. They're nearly all German and French.
What about you? I mean, where do you buy your power from? Have you gone for one of those renewables?
Yeah, the company I've gone to is Octopus. And that's because the company I was with previously went bust. But Octopus is supposed to be 100% renewables. Now, the price of the wind hasn't gone up. The price of the sun hasn't gone up. The price of the tide going in and out hasn't gone up. So we're having to pay more for our energy because the price of oil's gone up. But we don't use oil. They don't use oil. They use renewables. Don't make sense.
It is part of the problem. I mean, you understand this business. Part of the problem is, I mean, someone like Octopus, I mean, it doesn't actually... Whoever you get your energy from, whoever you buy it from, it's only actually the same as everybody else. I mean, they're saying they're 100% renewable, just means that they're sort of offsetting some of it. It doesn't actually change where your energy comes from.
It can't possibly, because most of it comes from coal or oil or gas, because that's the way the country drove. It's gone green because of the green protests, and we've gone green, but we've not done it in an organised, managed way. We've just sort of gone whole hog, and it's not capable of keeping up anyway. You can't rely on the wind. If the wind drops, my power station, Ratcliffe, you see it not working most of the time, but as soon as the wind drops, Ratcliffe's running because they can't manage without coal. And we can't manage without coal. We've shut all the coal-fired power stations. We're knocking them down. They've shut all the nuclears before we've got anything on that can take the place of them.
I guess we didn't think this was going to happen, did we?
Well, they didn't. There's no foresight, is there?
No. Hopefully that will change. Look, Dennis, it's really good to talk to you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate it.
Hi, thank you.
I used to live not that far from Ratcliffe Power Station.
It's interesting. I was watching a documentary the other night about offsetting, carbon offsetting, and how it sounds good, but in practice, A lot of companies and industries claim to be carbon offsetting everything they do. But actually what they do is they're just spending money on what they're carbon offsetting, planting trees or whatever, but they're going on polluting. So in a way, it's not actually offsetting.
No. But it's a bit like this whole, all of our energy is 100% renewable. Well, it isn't.
No, because...
Because what you get, they're just
because you're buying into a
suppliers.
system. Yes, they're just the supplier.
So I don't know how that works.
I'm with Octopus, and that's why I went to Octopus, because I believed I was only buying green energy.
Yeah.
But actually, you're not. You're just part of a system.
You're just part of a system.
Yeah. But that's the flaw in our system.
Yeah, I suppose they're
I suppose the more and more octopuses there are, the
greener it'll
the
get.
greener our whole energy outlook will be. But unfortunately, nobody clearly saw this coming, except that people did. People like Martin Lewis have been moaning about this for years.
But then also with that, then if you are supposedly buying 100% green energy, why are you being affected by the increase in prices?
Because what's coming in through your electricity socket or gas line or whatever isn't truly green energy. You're just buying into a company that's investing 100% in green energy. So you're doing your bit, but you're still actually getting dirty fuel.
Yeah. I mean, no wonder it's confusing. No wonder people get fed up with it all. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, but I just don't understand why we didn't think of this years ago and plan for the future.
Well, yeah, we should have done. We should have done.
Clearly.
But then there was, I tell you what probably played a very big role in all of this was Chernobyl. Because we were heading towards a more nuclear country, and then obviously Chernobyl put the frighteners, understandably, on everybody with all of that, and all that got scaled back. I mean, nuclear energy is possibly the best way forward at the minute, because renewables aren't going to keep us going until we can sort out storage.
I never thought I'd agree on that one, but absolutely.
Anyway, let us know what you think. That's only my view. GB Views, gbnews.uk.
John says we need to get on with fracking quickly as possible. That's the quickest way to reduce bills. It does sound as though it is one of the quickest ways that anyone seems to be able to come up with.
Terry said, just watch your interview about the impact of rising costs and the need for direct intervention. The man was so honest, and yes, I agree, the interview should be packaged up and sent to Sunak and Truss. That was John, who we spoke to a little bit earlier on. The Tories in particular, but all MPs are too far removed from reality. Yeah, I mean, look, there are a lot of really good MPs out there who are just ordinary working-class people who've ended up going into Parliament, who know exactly what is going on. The problem is those people in power are often, and you said it before about these very rich people who end up sort of running governments and things. And I'm not against people making money and being well off and all the rest of it.
No, but how in touch are they?
But you've got to go to Blackpool or wherever and actually see how real people are living and how real people are struggling.
Well, and listen to Des, our viewer, earlier. That's why I think we should package up that interview and send it to Conservative Central Office.
Yeah.
We'll see if we do.
Yes.
Shall we bring you up to date with the very latest headlines? Drop-off fees. Oh, yes, this is another thing. Drop-off fees have increased at 2/3 of the UK's major airports since 2019. Have you noticed this?
Oh, yes.
That's according to research by the RAC. 16 of the 22 airports analysed have introduced or raised charges for simply dropping off passengers in the past 3 years. The company says drivers will be stunned by some of the sky-high fees.
It costs a fortune at Luton Airport.
And at Heathrow.
Oh, absolutely terrible. Talking of cars, this car was used by Diana, Princess of Wales. It's going to be sold at auction today. It's a black Ford Escort RS Turbo. It was driven by Diana from 85 to 88. Last June, another Escort used by Diana sold at auction for 52 grand.
NASA is set to launch its new moon rocket on Monday, marking the next chapter in putting humans back on the moon. The Artemis 1 will see the first launch of the new Space Launch System rocket, which the agency says is the world's most powerful rocket to date. We're all signed up, aren't we? We're all signed up.
Oh, we're going to be there. I tell you what, it's huge. It's a huge system. I mean, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal to see. And to see that launch. I'd love to see a launch.
Yeah, the Saturn V, which launched Apollo, and then it took them about 3.5, 4 days to get to the moon. I wonder if this one will go more quickly.
I don't know.
No, we need
It's
to check
doing
the
that.
science.
It's going to be up there for 42 days, isn't it? And going around the dark side of the moon. But quite what it does, faffing about in the interim.
Don't know.
Float about a bit.
Why
in
are they
the
so
middle.
interested in the dark side of
Did
the
you
moon?
know
as
the
well?
moon is getting further and further away from the Earth?
That's a problem.
Yeah, it's
because
gonna be
we
a
are
problem.
inextricably tied in all sorts of ways to the moon.
Yeah, I never realised this. So we'll lose. First and foremost, it'll take thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, but there won't be solar eclipses anymore.
No, that's right, because it literally won't be able to happen.
Yeah,
we are in a sort of Goldilocks era at the moment, where the moon is just about the right size to obliterate the sun at certain points. Yeah.
So that's going to change, but of course it's going to impact the tides.
Yes.
Significantly.
Everything. Yeah.
Everything will go.
I mean, everything to do with life on Earth has been influenced by the moon, even a woman's menstrual cycle.
Really?
Oh, gosh, yes.
Really?
Yeah. It's monthly.
Well...
No, but that's why we have monthly things.
Is it really?
Yes. It's why... absolutely. It's why there are all sorts... I'll have to look it up, but there are all sorts of things that happen in the gestation of animals, even human babies and everything. It's all done by the lunar cycle. Everything on Earth, including, as you say, the tides and everything, is terribly influenced by the moon. So if we were to live long enough, we would have to evolve if the moon's moving away from us.
Yeah. Oh, well. I don't know what...
You're stunned.
I am a bit
I do
stunned
hope I'm
by
right
that.
there on the science, but I'm pretty sure I am.
Yeah, you will be, I'm sure.
Okay.
Now, we're going to move to something which is... it's shocking that it's 3 years
an anniversary,
ago, actually.
yeah.
It's an awful anniversary. It's a story which I think shocked the whole country just because of... Not because the accident happened, which was a tragedy in and of itself, but of what happened immediately afterwards. And it's today a memorial motorbike ride will take place outside the US Embassy in London, and it is marking the 3rd anniversary of the death of Harry Dunn.
Yes, remember that name. US citizen Anne Sakoulas is accused of causing the death of the 19-year-old by her dangerous driving following that fatal crash in Northamptonshire. She's never stood trial, of course, in the UK.
Alice Porter looks now at the background to the case.
On the 27th of August 2019, Harry Dunn was riding his motorbike to meet his father. He never made it. The bike collided with a car and he was killed. The car was driven by an American, Anna Sakoulas, who had just left a US base, where her husband worked for the CIA. Police weren't able to investigate because she flew home to the US, claiming diplomatic immunity. The result was a transatlantic row, with Harry Dunn's parents fighting for Anne Sakoulas to stand trial in the UK.
She needs to just do the right thing and just come back and face what she's done, face us as a broken family, face our UK system.
They went to the US to raise awareness of the case and had a meeting with President Trump.
The President was very graceful and spoke very well to us. He listened to Charlotte very well. She spoke excellent to him and he was understanding. And I think he generally will look to try and resolve this in a way to help us.
But when the Crown Prosecution Service announced that Mrs. Sakoulas would be charged with causing death by dangerous driving, the US refused the extradition request. In December 2021, it was announced that Anna Sakoulas would face a virtual trial before a UK court, although discussions between her legal team and the CPS are still ongoing. 3 years on from his death, Harry Dunn's family say they'll continue to fight for justice for their son. Alice Porter, GB News.
It is the lack of justice there. And, I mean, look, from Anne Sakoulas' perspective, yes, it must be very difficult to say, I'm going to face justice now when managed to get away with it up until this point. But what would you do? What is the morally right thing to do?
I don't know. And I just think what an extraordinary woman Harry Dunn's mother is.
Oh, yeah.
She has been projected into this horrific limelight, and she's done such an incredible job. Well done to her, and it's just so sad that, yes, we're looking at an anniversary of such a terrible tragedy.
Yeah. Look, don't go anywhere. We've got all the news from the world of sport in a couple of minutes.
Good morning, Alex Deakin here with your latest weather update this weekend. A bank holiday for many of us is looking pretty dry, with most of us seeing some decent spells of sunshine as well. High pressure is slowly but surely moving in. There are some weather fronts which are closing in on the northwest. They'll increase the cloud here today, but generally it is set fair. Now, I say generally because there will still be one or two scattered showers around, certainly across parts of northern England this morning, and even this afternoon as we go into the evening across parts of the Midlands and southern England. One or two showers here and there, but I say most places aren't going to see those showers. Many will just stay dry and bright with sunny spells. In the sunshine, feeling pretty warm by this afternoon. It's quite a fresh start out there this morning, especially in western Scotland, but by this afternoon, 18, 19 here. Elsewhere, we're over 20 Celsius, and in the south, by this afternoon, widely into the mid-20s, so feeling pretty pleasant in those sunny spells. That weather front will bring a bit of rain to the north of Northern Ireland this afternoon and spread into parts of western Scotland, the Highlands, the Western Isles, maybe into Argyll for a time before that continues to push northwards through the night. Otherwise, it's another dry night. Some mist and fog, just like we had last night, but that should clear pretty quickly on Sunday morning. Temperatures mostly holding up in double digits, so slightly warmer than last night, and Sunday will be slightly warmer than today. We will see a bit of a breeze just starting to pick up along the south coast. That's going to be a feature of the weather, more particularly into Monday. Will be quite cloudy across northern Scotland, still with some patchy rain. And again on Sunday, tomorrow afternoon, there might just be one or two scattered showers over northern England. But most places, dry and bright, sunny spells, a little warmer, widely over 20 Celsius. Again in the south, 24, 25, maybe 26 Celsius. Feeling cool on that south coast with that breeze though, and that stiff wind will be a feature of the weather into bank holiday Monday as well. Again, most places will be dry with spells of sunshine.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness, brilliant. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GBNews.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. I just had a technical malfunction, but I've been successfully repaired by Anne Diamond.
Plugged him in now.
Plugged me back in again. Oh, bits fall out.
It can work.
Let's have a look at all the sport for you. Good old Aidan McGee is here. Morning.
Morning, how are you?
Morning,
nice to see you.
I'm all right. Yeah, it's nice to see you too. What have you got for us today?
Well, it's a bank holiday weekend.
It is indeed. But all eyes on the cricket, actually. We don't normally lead with cricket on these bulletins or on these kind of pieces, do we? But really interesting this week. We've seen Ben Stokes, the England captain, produce one of the best performances in recent years, certainly of his recent times, because he had a difficult period. He had a documentary, a series released this week on Amazon called Phoenix from the Ashes, talking about his battle with mental health issues, and he really suffered badly. We're talking panic attacks and stuff like that, and he considered quitting the cricket altogether. And this is one of the most celebrated stars of recent years. He took up the captaincy earlier in the year, and there's enough of a microscope on his life as it is, and then he goes into the England fray where he takes over from quite a failing side. You had the Ashes scenario at the turn of the year where England failed dismally against Australia in December and January. He takes over as captain. Now, that's a risk in itself. And someone suffering mental health issues, often they find that in diagnosis, they find that sometimes being overburdened with responsibility is a cause. It plays one of the factors one of the dynamics that causes the problems in the first place. So it's a bit of a risk when someone's suffering already and they take the captaincy.
Yeah.
But he took it on his shoulders as it is. Took a bit of time to find his range in terms of batting. He wasn't batting well in the summer, even though England were doing relatively well. And he's part of this new sort of drive to be expansive and try and go for runs and try and hit sixes and things like that. And yesterday, it all came together at Old Trafford in the second day of the second test against South Africa, and he produced, I think it was 103 was the eventual stand to put England in the driving seat going into the third test, or going into the next day's play today, which gets under 11 o'clock. But superb performance from him. He also, his partner was a guy called Ben Folkes, so similar sort of name, but he hit 113
Folkes and
himself.
Stokes.
Exactly, yeah, and he had a problem with his left knee as well. So in common with the problems he's had with his personal life in the last few years, it wasn't without issues. He had to struggle to really get there. But one of his shots even landed on the balcony at Old Trafford. So yeah, it didn't break any glass, thankfully. But brilliant performance from him, and great to see. And it just happens to be in the week when the show or the series is on Amazon and doing very good numbers as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, good for him.
Exactly.
Good
What
for
else?
him.
What else have we got coming
Well,
up?
I'm looking at the fixtures today. I'm all eyes on Man United and Southampton, really. I mean, Man United produced this performance from the gods on Tuesday when they beat Liverpool 2-1. They had all that criticism in the last few weeks. They lost at home to Brighton, lost away to Brentford. They were 4-0 down in 35 minutes. It was like, Man United, we're next for them. And then Liverpool go to Old Trafford, not in great form themselves, it has to be said, but United just hadn't beaten them in 4 years, and they just produced this performance which very few people thought this current team was capable of. Now, the issue is, 5 days later, yes, you've raised your game for Liverpool when the pressure's on and when everyone's biting from the sidelines. Can you go to Southampton at about 12:30? Tough trip, early kick-off on a Saturday, and produce the same kind of performance. Manchester United are well known for having players who are capable of raising it for the big games, but they're not so up for it when you maybe go to... The old phrase used to be going to Stoke on a Tuesday night. You don't use that anymore because Stoke have been relegated. But, if you had a top player around, the question would be, but can he do it on a Tuesday night in Stoke?
Yeah.
And so they're going to Southampton today. So we'll see how they get on. It's 12:30. Arsenal as well is interesting, 5:30. I mean, 3 wins for them at the start of the season. Another side who've been criticised in recent years for having mentality issues. I mean, we saw last season they had a terrible start. They picked it up and did really well. And they've got a documentary on Amazon running as well. It seems to be a theme these days.
Doesn't it,
And then it does, yeah. Well, I mean,
It's a revenue winner, isn't it?
it is, yeah. I mean, it's a chance to showcase the club around the globe. I mean, Wrexham are doing it with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, wow.
So that's going as well. But it's called All or Nothing. And when you actually look at what the team gets out of it and what it shows about the dressing room, sometimes you don't come across very well because the manager and the coaches and the players forget the cameras are there a lot of the time. So it's been re-nicknamed from All or Nothing. It's been called All for Nothing.
Oh,
That's
really?
what fans are thinking of. Yeah, but it is good. It's a good watch, though. But Arsenal... So, again, Arsenal have got theirs on TV at the moment, but they're lucky because they've started the season very well. And today they face Fulham. They've not lost at home to Fulham for about 500 years. So I will check the exact note on that. It's not quite 500 years, but...
no, not quite.
No, but it'll be a long time. It'll be a long time. But that could be... Look, they could easily win that game at 5:30, and that'd be 4 wins from the start of the season. They had the problems at the end of last year where they lost away to Tottenham and away to Newcastle, and they really wilted under that pressure. And that's when people started questioning, have they got the stomach to do, or the mentality to do this, to finish in the top 4. But 4 wins out of 4, you can't really argue with that. So we'll see where it goes. And yeah, and as I say, these Amazon documentaries, they look fine when you're winning. If you started the season badly, then you're going, well, look at him.
We should never have signed up to do that.
He's a bit eccentric. Yeah. He's a bit eccentric. Look at that thing. And even though most of his footage is from a year ago, people just sort of bring it into the now and draw comparisons. So yeah, good that they're winning, but I think they'll be glad to see the back of those cameras.
Well, we've got to move on for the moment. You're coming back a bit later.
I am indeed, yeah.
Jolly good. More to come here, including all the papers, next.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Hey!
Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello again. Welcome back to Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne. Are you plugged in again now?
No, it's all
He's
got...
having terrible technical issues.
I'm going to have to get... You were looking
I'll
at some...
switch you off and on again. That would work, wouldn't it? Or kick you.
Do you know, this is so old-fashioned, this kit.
Yes, it is.
Because we have these, obviously, you know, earpieces, but they're literally bits of plastic tube.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to invest in one of those fancy new ones.
Yes, I think so. I think we both will.
Yeah, because this is now my tube has snapped, so I can't hear what anyone's saying in the gallery.
Well, they're not
I don't know
saying
what's going
anything
on.
interesting at all. Shall we take a look at today's front pages?
Oh, go on then.
Yeah, go on then. Lives will be lost, reports The Guardian. The stark words come from the consumer champion Martin Lewis as he condemned the inaction of ministers.
The Mirror adds to that, telling the government, for heaven's sakes, do something.
The Daily Mail says the energy crisis could wipe out the savings of 6 million families as the energy price cap increased by nearly £1,600 at this time yesterday.
Well, let's go through the papers in a bit more detail. Once again, with former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and the author and journalist, James Bloodworth. Good to see you both this morning. Let's start off with, because we've been talking green stuff this morning to an extent.
Yes.
Electric cars, they're the way forward, apparently, but the Telegraph says it could be more expensive than petrol.
Slam into reverse immediately.
Yeah.
This is the Telegraph here reporting on this one. Electric cars more expensive to run than petrol. Obviously, we all know that, you know, the cost of living crisis, electric prices are going through the roof for our domestic fuel bills at home, but also affecting charging your car. Charging your car at home, for those of you that do it, is going to cost 84% more come October.
Yeah.
And the owner of a Jaguar could spend £99 more to travel the same distance as a driver of a petrol equivalent Jaguar. But it's not just Jags, obviously. I mean, people have sort of like
looking at that.
It's any ordinary cars.
That seems crazy, doesn't it? Because petrol comes from oil too. But it's just the way it is manufactured and supplied to us.
Fuel prices, petrol is going down in costs, whereas electricity is going up. So petrol is becoming cheaper to put in your car, whereas charging it is going to cost a fortune. And that's on top of the fact that electric cars are a lot more expensive to buy than ordinary cars in any case.
At the moment.
At the moment,
this
I
has
mean...
to be a short-term problem, but a massive one, and terribly ironic.
Well, this is where we are now, isn't it? You know, go and get your electric car and drive it, but you can't afford to.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, James, we're looking at migrant crossings, and there's something to do with that's called TikTok Black Friday deals.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really depressing story. So smuggling gangs are using TikTok to promote like Black Friday deals to bring people to the UK. So people smugglers offering cut-price TikTok Black Friday channel deals to Albanians in particular to beat the government crackdown on ahead of bank holiday. So there's been a massive rise in the number of Albanians coming to the UK in recent years, trying to come to the UK on these dangerous...
It's 60% of
60% of the channel crossings.
Yeah, so it's this year it's been 2,165 people compared to the same period, just 23.
So the smuggling gangs are deliberately seeing this as a business outlet,
Yes.
and they are now marketing themselves via TikTok. To Albanians.
Yeah, and TikTok seems to be, like many social media companies, seems to be quite slow to act in terms of getting these taken down. And this is putting people's lives at risk. I mean, I think it's important to say that up to now, you know, half of the people who've come from Albania are typically, around half people are granted asylum. So there are genuine asylum seekers there. But it seems like the part of the massive increase has been prompted by these disreputable gangs using social media to promote these dodgy deals, basically. Pay us £3,000 and we'll get you 100% guarantee to the UK.
They're literally selling it like a day trip, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, 75% off, you know, pay sort of like half the price, whatever. And, you know, trips to the UK going 3 times a week. And it's like going on a booze cruise. It's like insane.
Oh, it's crazy.
OK, Dawn, is President Macron a friend or a foe?
He, according to Boris Johnson, who is still Prime Minister, I think, isn't he, just for a few more days?
Just about.
Who knows? He spends most of his time in Ukraine. But evidently the PM has spoken out after Liz Truss. Liz Truss at the final... Is it the final husting?
No, there's one more.
One more to come. Oh, my God.
But she was asked, wasn't she?
She was asked, is Macron a friend or a foe? And she said the jury's still out on that one. I mean, she is Foreign Secretary still, just about, and surely diplomacy is meant to be the strong point of being a Foreign Secretary. Oops, quite clearly not. Anyway, so Boris has been asked about this and said, no, Macron is definitely our bon buddy. He used proper French, obviously, not...
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he said, because he speaks French, obviously.
He does.
Bon buddy. Buddy.
No,
Any case, so this is the Prime Minister who has not at all clashed with Macron over vaccines, nuclear submarines, fishing rights, energy supplies, the list is endless, but now they're suddenly the best of friends. But the best response is Macron himself, who, when he was told Liz Truss, the jury's out still, he said, so yes, of course, the British people, the nation which is the United Kingdom, is a friend, strong and allied, whoever its leaders are, and sometimes in spite of its leaders.
Yes, I thought that was that was very well put. Very well put.
Oh, I tell you, ouch. Ouch. Let's talk about a Russian spy in the Telegraph, James.
Who seduced NATO officers.
Yes, so a Russian spy posing as a jet-setting jewellery designer has infiltrated NATO's one of its headquarters in the Italian city of Naples by sleeping with officers there. This is quite a fascinating story of kind of intrigue.
Jane Bond, as it were.
I was just going to say, it's very 007, isn't it?
Yeah, and so Naples is...
Old-fashioned spying.
It's literally every spy novel ever, this, isn't it?
Yeah,
Was she a real risk?
Yeah, well, Naples is an important military base of NATO there. It's someone who spent a long time ingratiating herself in kind of Naples high society, had relationships, it appears, with some people who worked high up in NATO, and then was activated by the GRU, that's Russia's intelligence services, a few years ago to gather information, apparently, on NATO operations around Ukraine.
She was a sleeper spy in more ways than one.
Yes, exactly. But she was actually found out because the Russians made a mistake they gave her a fake passport, and they gave many GRU officers, intelligence officers, fake passports, but they used consecutive numbers. So when they found a couple of them, the intelligence services here, they saw that they all had consecutive numbers, and then that was how they were master
rookie
spies.
Mistake.
Very rookie mistake.
But don't you think that the people she was seducing would say, oh, there's a hot Russian woman, I wonder why she's possibly interested in me?
True.
I suppose the male ego comes into play then, and then they...
A very dangerous thing.
That they must have something about themselves that attracted them.
Honestly, and they're probably sort of older, podgy fellas.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would think
not much
so.
going for
Bureaucrats.
Their intelligence.
Dawn, tell us about the value of sleep.
Well, whether they were getting much sleep, the people in the previous story, is another matter. But evidently, the correct amount of kip could prevent 70% of heart attacks and strokes. New research following 7,200 healthy over 50s, which may or may not include some of us sitting at the table.
Not yet.
Shut up, you. and found just 10% just regularly get a good night's sleep. Though.
So what is the right night's sleep?
Well, I mean,
it varies person to person.
It does vary person to person. That's the thing. They're taking it as the average, sort of like 7 hours.
I imagine you sort of go on about 3 hours sleep, and then
I'm ready to go all the time, Stephen. Obviously.
Ready to present another programme.
At least I wouldn't break my earpiece. Just saying. But I mean, yeah, it's common sense, really, isn't it? I mean, you don't need scientists to tell you this, that, you know, the better sleep you have, the better your health is going to be. And a good night's sleep allows your body to rest, which relaxes your blood vessels, in return reducing blood pressure. So that is why it's the cardiac link, to be honest with you. So, yeah, you know, roughly about, it depends on your body clock, though, Stephen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
7 hours.
I doubt that many of us get as much sleep as we probably need.
Not when we're doing the papers.
No.
Some days, but not today.
Yeah, I sleep in shifts.
I'm sure you do.
That's it. I get a little siesta.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, it's that catnap thing, isn't it? When you get up very early. I mean, obviously, it's not just in the media. Lots of industries do that. But you get to a point in the middle of the afternoon, you suddenly go, like that.
Yeah.
And you're literally headbutting on, in my case, my laptop. And it's like, oh God.
Yeah.
And you always wonder whether that's the same value of sleep as a full 8 hours in a long stretch.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I think it's a little recharge.
Anyone who's ever had to do shift work, you just have to compromise.
Get on with it, yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why people might be sleeping less. It says in the paper that people our work lives, basically.
Yes, there's no such thing as a 9 to a 5 anymore.
Well, plus all the stress at the moment, the stress
It's
that people are
difficult to
going
get to
through at
sleep
the
if you're
minute with
worried.
all the worry.
Yeah.
James, though, tell us, is it good news that nearly half of the Ukrainian refugees here in the UK have found work?
Yeah, this I think is a really good news story. So yeah, almost half of the Ukrainians who arrived in the UK following Russia's invasion of that country, they found work despite language barriers, many people struggling with English, but. We do have a recruitment issue in the labour market at the moment. Lots of companies are crying out for workers, and it seems, just over half of Ukrainians have managed to get jobs. I think.
Well, that's good because it means they're contributing into society financially, which is positive.
Yeah, and I imagine also helping family members who haven't been able to come over here as well. I think looking back on the war in Ukraine, I think Britain can be quite proud of its role in both helping the Ukrainians in Ukraine fight back against the Russians, but also supporting Ukrainians in coming to this country, and they look like they're paying that back by many of
And
those
all of the
people want to
stories you
work.
hear about the Ukrainian refugees who've come here, they seem to be an incredibly laudable bunch of people, prepared to work hard.
Yeah, absolutely prepared to. And they're here. They are here legally, so they can work. They're allowed to work, unlike illegal migration, obviously. And that's why Boris has been awarded the Freedom of Ukraine or whatever it was. He was given an award during the week, the highest award they can give people, because the amount of effort the UK has put into helping the Ukraine and the Ukrainians out.
Yeah, well, look, rightly so, actually. I mean, people can say what they like about Boris, but actually, when it comes to the Ukraine situation, he stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, he did. And to be fair, absolutely, he did.
Lovely.
Okay, well, that's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. We got through a load of newspapers there.
I promise you we'd
We got a lot in that time, didn't we? Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's only because you can't hear them in your ear going,
I've
shut
no
up,
idea
shut
what
up.
they're saying to me.
Very, very quickly, have you had enough of the leadership race?
Yes.
Have you had
my
enough
Lord.
of the leadership race?
Yeah, I think it's a distraction from the cost of living
Yeah,
crisis.
do you think the country's had enough?
Get on with running the country. Someone.
Oh, now that's interesting. As we've been reporting all day, the energy price cap is set to increase, as you know, to more than $3,500 from October. But what are the Tory leadership hopefuls going to do to help struggling households? The Tory MP, Robert Halfon, is backing Rishi Sunak for all of this, and he joins us now. Good to see you this morning. And look, our guest here, and I'm sure a lot of people at home are thinking, this is a distraction, and we need to really focus on what the problems are for people in Britain today. There's been arguments made to say Rishi's not going to win this. It seems pretty clear from the polling. So why doesn't he throw in the towel and work with Liz Truss to come up with some proper solutions rather than wasting all our time as this all seems to be doing at the moment?
Well, the first thing I'd say is you're right. It is absolutely grim for millions of households, and not just households, but small businesses and public services. If I could just give an example of a fish and chip shop in my Harlow constituency, their takings have gone down $5,000 a month. Their energy bills have gone up from $1,800 to $3,000. I spoke to my local GP surgery. His gas for the surgery is going up from 10,000 a year to 24,000 a year. So we've got a triple whammy hitting families, hitting the essential public services, and hitting small businesses particularly as well. And of course, I welcome that when Rishi Sunak was Chancellor, he announced a £37 billion package. So £1,200 will go to 8 million of the most vulnerable families. There'll be a national insurance tax cut for 70% of households, a 5p fuel duty cut as well. A £400 rebate to everybody on their energy bills, but there has to be a huge scale government intervention. Whoever becomes Prime Minister, it is just a week away. I think it's right that the contest finishes properly. But whoever gets in, I hope it's Rishi Sunak, whoever wins is going to have to carry out a large-scale intervention in the way that Mr Sunak did when he was Chancellor a few weeks ago.
Now, I know you're supporting Rishi Sunak, but surely you can see, like the rest of us, that he isn't going to win, is he? So the next week is a waste of time when actually we should have a government with a Prime Minister and a plan.
Well, on the first point, I don't accept that. There have been different polls. As a poll of Conservative councillors, it was pretty equal in terms of Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. Rishi Sunak came to my constituency of Harlow yesterday morning. He had a lot of support from members who hadn't voted yet, because there are a fair few members who haven't voted yet. It's worth remembering that. And some of these members were actually had in mind to vote for Liz Truss originally. So it's never over till it's over. But there will be a new Prime Minister in just a week away. And where I agree with you is there has to be a large-scale intervention. Now, this is my personal view. I'm not speaking on behalf of Rishi Sunak. I think that what the government needs to do is introduce a social tariff for vulnerable families and those just about managing in terms of their energy bills. There has to be an essential public services tariff. I mentioned to you my GP surgery, but I've got local schools who are spending more money on energy and can't employ frontline staff that they need to help their students learn. So a public services tariff, or essential public service tariff, and a small business tariff, because small businesses like the fish and chip shop I mentioned to you are going to go under, and big businesses can absorb all this, but small businesses can't. So I hope very much that there will be a large-scale intervention plan, similar to what Rishi Sunak did when he was Chancellor, but it has to come pretty quickly.
I was going to say, I mean, Boris Johnson yesterday was talking about the pipeline of cash, and there is a fair amount of cash coming, particularly for those who are more vulnerable. But you accept, do you, that just isn't going to be anywhere near enough?
Well, £37 billion and £1,200 for 8 million vulnerable families, £400 rebate, national insurance tax cut, council tax cut of £150 for most households is a big package, but absolutely it's going to be swallowed up, sadly, by the huge increases in our energy bills announced only yesterday. And there has to be a really significant intervention by government. This is also one of the reasons, by the way, why I am supporting Rishi Sunak, because you have to raise the money from somewhere, and if you don't, Liz Truss wants to cut taxes on big business. Where do you get the money from without increasing our national debt in a huge way? Our interest on the national debt over the coming year our interest over the coming year to pay is £85 billion. Just imagine if we had £85 billion that we weren't paying in interest, but we could spend on cutting the cost of living and cutting taxes for ordinary folk up and down the country.
But the problem is, Rishi Sunak said tax cuts would be inflationary. We know that the furlough scheme ultimately was inflationary. And you're saying, well, whoever gets in charge, which may be Rishi Sunak, as you say, are going to have to start doing something similar to a furlough scheme. Well, that, by his own admission, is going to be inflationary, isn't it?
Well, there's going to have to be some large-scale intervention, and the money has to come from somewhere, and you've got to do it in a way inevitably you're going to have to increase borrowing, but you've got to do it in a way that doesn't increase borrowing unsustainably, because if you do that, what happens is you increase interest rates, you increase inflation, you increase mortgage rates, and God forbid there's another crisis around the corner, and who knows what's going to happen with the war in Ukraine, who knows what's going to happen with pandemics and God knows what. We can't just keep borrowing. We're owed £2 trillion in debt overall. So you've got three problems. You've got massive public spending pressures, you've got massive cost of living pressures, and you've also got a massive borrowing debt problem. So these three problems the government has to grapple with and kind of juggle the balls. But the most important priority is going to have to be to help families, small businesses and essential public services dealing with this huge price in energy bills.
Interesting. You're being much more outspoken about it than Rishi Sunak is.
Well, I've always campaigned on the cost of living, first of all, and fuel duty. I've campaigned to keep fuel duty down, and actually Rishi Sunak cut fuel duty by five pence. I've done this since I got elected in 2010. But as I say, I'm supporting Rishi Sunak because I do believe that his track record shows that when it counts, he does help with the cost of living. The government spent £37 billion. It's a huge amount of money, especially with the current spending pressures, to try and help people over the next few months. He's got a track record, but we've got to do it in a way that doesn't dramatically increase our national debt and that it's paid for, that it's sustainable. So I believe that his approach is right. I think he acted properly when times were tough. If we didn't have the furlough scheme, my constituents would have become destitute. Our businesses would have closed. He acted when times were tough.
As you point out yourself, if there isn't massive intervention from somebody, then more of the businesses in your constituency will be going bust, and all over the UK as well. We'd love to talk about it longer, but we're being yelled at to actually go to the news now and a break. So thanks very much indeed. That's Tory MP Robert Halfon, who is a Rishi Sunak supporter.
Let us know what you think about what he said. GBviews at gbnews.uk, and all the top stories coming up in just a moment.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh, my goodness. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
The reality of the energy price cap sinks in as millions of Brits work out how they can afford the huge hike in fuel bills. Money-saving expert Martin Lewis says lives will be lost this winter.
Good morning. It's 8 o'clock on Saturday, the 27th of August. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne. And it's a bank holiday, remember? So let us know what you're up to.
Did you know it was a bank holiday?
No, it came as a total shock to me.
I had no idea till I turned up to work yesterday, but there you go.
Great, we're reminding you. You see, you have a right to go out and enjoy yourself.
We are live across the whole of the UK. We're on your TV, on your radio and online. So wherever you are and whatever you're up to today, take us out and about with you.
Yeah, please take us out and about with you and let us know where you are. Cheer us up. Here are the top stories this morning with that news on the energy price cap that broke roughly this time yesterday on the programme. We hear from you, our viewers and listeners, about how you feel when you hear about the estimated cost to your bills. What are your plans for the months ahead? And what do you want to hear from our leaders? Do get in touch. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
New developments in the tragic shooting of Olivia Pratt-Corbell in Liverpool. A second arrest is made of a man on suspicion of murder. We'll bring you the latest.
And we don't want to be all doom and gloom because we are still in the summer. This is a bank holiday. The weather is due to be nice. This is Britain, and there's still a lot you can do for free, including getting outdoors, enjoying our surroundings. Where are the best spots to go to? The recent rain has even brought the plants and the grass back into bloom. So send us your photos of you making the most of the British summer and let us know where's best and what's best to do for free.
Perhaps you need to go to the moon, which might sound a bit ridiculous, but it's not that far off. After more than 50 years, NASA's new moon mission will launch from Cape Canaveral on Monday. Now, this is a test mission. It's unmanned, but it means a subsequent trip in just a few years is expected to have a full lunar touchdown. What do you remember about the landing first time round, 1969? Were you around? Did you watch it? Did it change your perspective on the world?
Oh, we've had some lovely moon landing memories. Tell you these coming up, but do get yours in too. gbviews@gbnews.uk. Stephen says, moon landing. I was nearly 7 in 1969. We were on holiday at a guest house in Southsea. The room, unusually in those days, did have a TV set, which had a slot meter on the side. I remember my dad scrabbling around for old sixpences to put in the slot so that we could see the moon landing. Dad and I were sitting on the edge of the bed, utterly transfixed, while Mum moaned about watching what she called that rubbish. It was such a big event that I don't remember anything else about that holiday. Love it.
I bet. Debbie, though, is not so keen. I wish they would stop spending money going to the moon. We've already damaged our wonderful Earth. Now we're moving on to the moon.
Yeah, we won't stop them, though. I don't think you can stop man persevering and trying to explore.
If we're going to survive, we need to get out into the cosmos at some point. We need to get out, and the way to do that is from the moon, because it's a much, much cheaper way to do.
And you can't stop man exploring anyway, can you?
Plus, all the technology which is developed for space missions then comes with things like anti-lock brakes, believe it or not, and you can't. We're all developed through NASA. All that sort of thing. So it's
even things like
stuff.
GPS satellites and stuff like that is all from space exploration and investment, I suppose. But if you've got a lovely moon landing memory, we would love to hear from you. It was absolutely brilliant. I'll never forget being so proud to be human. And then, of course, Apollo 13 happened, and I was at school then, and at a girls' school, and we were all in tears for days because it took about 4 days before we knew they would get back safely, and then were. And we were writing poems and doing drawings and praying in assembly and everything for the safe return of the Apollo 13 astronauts.
It's one thing that's never happened. Is it people being lost in space?
We don't think so, no.
Oh.
Well, there are lots of theories that there have been Russian...
because you imagine tumbling through the cosmos forever.
Yes.
It's just a scary prospect. James says going to the moon sounds great, but will it help me pay my energy bills?
Well, no, it won't help you pay your energy bills, but you'll not stop them going to the moon.
No.
It's not something you can trade off, I think, really.
No.
You can't say don't go to the moon but spend the money instead on energy, because it just won't happen.
It might help us develop ways to produce cheaper... everlasting energy, stuff like that. 0-point modules and all this sort of thing, which is very, very far in the future.
What's a 0-point module?
Well, it draws energy from sort of bits between space. Space isn't just space, there's lots of different levels, and zero-point modules are a way of drawing energy, so it'd be like an infinite energy source, basically.
OK. No, I mean, I totally believe you, but I just trying to think that...
It's a bit sci-fi.
It's a bit like what I was saying a bit earlier about a woman's menstrual cycle evolving from the lunar cycle. Apparently, having done a little bit of research on it, that is entirely open to interpretation. Some experts, including Darwin, thought so.
Yeah.
Others didn't.
Right.
And it hasn't been proven either way.
But I wouldn't be
surprised. But the moon has the most has had, because it's always been there, it's obviously had an evolutionary effect on life on Earth. We were talking about this because Stephen was telling us that the moon is moving further away from us.
So it's eventually it will go out of our orbit.
But not in our lifetime.
Oh, no.
That's the last thing we need at the moment, because there are nothing to worry
lose
about.
the moon.
Okay.
No.
In fact, you know, back to the energy crisis, and there are some pretty scary phrases being used, including the latest from the money-saving expert Martin Lewis, who said lives could be lost this winter, and it's made the front pages of so many of the newspapers. And that, of course, is following the announcement at this time yesterday that the energy price cap is increasing to over £3,500 from this October.
Yeah, he was talking on the radio and he said this is a catastrophe. If we do not get further government intervention on top of what was announced in May, then lives will be lost this winter.
And, of course, that comes now, as Boris Johnson has promised, that there is financial help on the way. He's actually said we will have a pipeline of cash.
Of course, we could see this coming, and that's why we've put the steps in place that we already have. And don't forget that although there will be more announcements next month, more cash coming from September onwards, you shouldn't forget that the pipeline of cash stretches out throughout the autumn. So there's going to be another £650 coming for every one of the 8 million most vulnerable households in October. In November, another £300 to help every pensioner, £150 extra for everybody who is entitled to disability benefits, on top of what we're doing with universal credit and the living wage, lifting both of those up. And so cash, there's a pipeline of cash coming through over the next few months and through the autumn and the winter.
It may be very welcome and it may be very helpful for a lot of people, but I bet there's people thinking, I wish you said a shed load of cash rather than a pipeline, because that's what people are going to need.
Tell you what, though, it's interesting, because we haven't heard from Boris for quite a while.
No.
And he still talks in a much more up way. And I don't know, does he give you a feeling of a bit more confidence just in the way he speaks than the other lot?
That's interesting. Yeah, because one of the big criticisms of Rishi Sunak was that he was certainly at the start of his campaign that he was being very, very doom and gloom. And don't get me wrong, it is doom and gloom. But we respond better to people talking about positive outcomes than negative ones.
Yes.
Interesting, isn't it?
Or is that Boris hype? I mean, you can interpret it whichever way you want, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, look, news of the price hike broke during our programme yesterday, and today we really wanted to hear from you because we are the People's Channel, as you know. So we're talking to viewers and listeners right across the programme this morning. But first, let's just get a roundup from our economic editor, Liam Halligan, about why this price hike is happening.
The government says it's working flat out to develop options to help cash-strapped households after this weekend's announcement of Ofgem's new energy price cap. Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi acknowledges that Friday's news of an 80% rise in average household energy bills from October will cause stress and anxiety for many people. But he puts the blame elsewhere.
Putin will continue to use energy as a weapon, as a way of getting back at us for the help we're putting into Ukraine. We need to remain resilient. We need to make sure that this isn't a sticking plaster, that for the long term we continue to help the most vulnerable who have no cushion, and that's what I'm determined to do, and we're working up those options for both households and for business for the incoming Prime Minister on the 5th of September.
6 months of war in Ukraine have indeed pushed up wholesale gas prices as Russia's restricted supplies to countries assisting Kiev. As the Kremlin's turned the screw, Western European nations have been stockpiling gas ahead of winter, pushing up prices even more. Regulator Ofgem caps what energy companies can charge households for gas and electricity. Until last October, that cap was around £1,200 a year. In April, it rose to almost £2,000, but has now soared to over £3,500. So average household fuel bills from October will be almost 3 times higher than a year ago. Back in May, ministers announced all households will receive a £400 annual rebate on their energy bills. And certain more vulnerable families already on benefits may qualify for another £650 of targeted assistance. But the government faces criticism that since Boris Johnson resigned as Tory leader in July, the ongoing race to succeed him has been a diversion. Energy campaigners have told me a far more comprehensive support package should already have been in place, ahead of this higher Ofgem price cap.
We haven't got a new government. It's the same party. That really, it is absolutely shocking. It's a dereliction of duty to have sat on your hands and to watch this come kind of crashing towards us. I think, look, the urgent issue is to provide immediate support to people on the lowest income. That could be doubling the package that we had in May from then Chancellor Sunak to match the new reality. It could be even more than that. I think that's a no-brainer.
As summer ends, we face an autumn and winter of sky-high utility bills. Ministers will unveil more help, but only once a fresh Prime Minister emerges and a new government's formed after September the 5th. Any assistance package, though, will only partially ease, rather than fully offset, the pain of spiralling energy costs on cash-strapped households and the broader economy.
Well, shall we get the view of Joe Shallum, who's Policy Director at the Centre for Social Justice? This pipeline of help that Boris Johnson has been talking about, will it get to the right people? And are there any others being left behind?
Well, I mean, the first thing to say here is that it's now become sort of terrifyingly clear that this cost of living crisis is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And what we've been doing at the Centre for Social Justice is looking at the hit to incomes, particularly those on low incomes, over the autumn and winter period. And what we found is that even when taking into account the existing support package, which is hugely welcome in so many ways, we're still seeing considerable falls in the real incomes of those who are already struggling, frankly, coming into this crisis. So there is a pipeline of an additional £400 coming. That's coming to all households and will be distributed in the form of around £67 per month. But where we are now is a very, very different picture to where we were when the calculations were made about what needed to go into that package. And it's really urgent that we update our cost of living policy response.
I mean, we've heard it before, but in this case, I think we can all see exactly why that people are saying it is those at the bottom end of the financial scale who are being disproportionately hit by this.
That's absolutely right. And, this is something that is going up the income spectrum. There's lots of people on middle incomes who are looking at the price cap announced yesterday and thinking, how on earth am I going to make it through? But the fact is, and this is something that, you'd probably expect to hear from us at the Centre for Social Justice, is that people on the lowest incomes do need the most support. It will be those households who are spending a high proportion on essentials like energy. But also, it's really important, I think, that we recognise the different sizes of energy bills by different household types. So you're more likely to spend more money on your energy if you're a lone parent. You're more likely to spend even more if you're a family with children. And so for any new cost of living policy response, it's really important that we do better to target money by household size so people are getting the support proportionally to what they are spending. The existing package, while very welcome, as I mentioned, it didn't really do that. And so you've got a flat rate sort of lump sum across household size, whereas you've got this welfare system that's there and is very, very effective at targeting money to the right people. And so we're arguing for the next Prime Minister to deploy that and help people out this autumn and winter.
Joe, thanks very much indeed, because we are speaking to a lot of GB viewers this morning, and I think we've got one coming up who feels it the same way, actually. There are some families who can afford, only just, and are still worried, but can afford to get through this, and other families that need much more realistic help right now. And let's talk now to GB viewer Des Cooper. I think it's Des, is it?
Yes.
Hello there. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice to see you again. I think we've spoken before, haven't we? I think you feel that you're one of the lucky ones. At least you've got enough, as far as you can see, to get by.
Definitely, yes. I mean, even though I'm I'm a pensioner, I'm a former teacher, so I get a teaching pension and a state pension. So I do very much class myself as one of the lucky ones.
So the money that's in this so-called pipeline that Boris was talking about has got to get to the right people. And can we do it, do you think? It's basically a handout, which Liz Truss didn't want to do.
Well, I mean, I've just been listening to your previous contributor, Joe Shalom, and I was very impressed and pleased with what he was saying, that he feels it absolutely is possible to get help to the most needy people. Because we do know whether these people are in it because they're unfortunate or whether they're in it because of circumstance or whatever, but we can't just abandon people. And there is no point in giving help to the likes of myself and people who are well off, who are just going to regard it as a bit of money in the bank. We don't need that. And we don't want that. Or I personally don't. We want to see help going to the most needy. And don't forget, the most needy are very often people who have served the country well, or are larger families who will serve the country enormously in the future. And both categories and other categories need support.
It is about targeting that, though. I mean, you'll be well aware that things like means testing, which sound all very sensible, are in fact very expensive to implement, which is why they tend to just dish the money out to everyone, as they have done in that £67 a month case. But, I mean, there's a tax option here, isn't there? You know, increasing the tax-free allowance, even temporarily for 12 months to cover those under a certain income. I mean, something like that should be comparatively easy to do.
Well, I would have thought that was easy to do. I mean, you always do wonder when taxation is talked about, because we all pay tax, and so if there is a general tax relief, then we all benefit, and that's really not what we want. But obviously, you do tend to think a multifaceted approach is probably going to catch more people who need catching, who need supporting. And so whichever way you come to it, as long as in the end, you find I mean, the situation needs careful monitoring. And I'm sure there are organisations like the people who you just interviewed who will monitor the situation and can flag up very quickly if there are certain categories of people that are not receiving support.
Well, we'll have to leave it there with you for the moment. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Have a great bank holiday weekend, won't you?
Thank you very much. Bye. I will do. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, Des.
Thank you.
I tell you what I find interesting talking to people like Des, because obviously he's a clever man. You know, he's a teacher and...
Geographer?
A geographer, yes. Big on citizenship and all that sort of thing in his career. It's a very considered... He's putting forward a very considered view, isn't he, when he says, look, we've got to look after those people who need looking after, people who are less needy, need to be left to get on with it for the time being. You know, it's a very considered view, not popular with everybody, but actually very sensible. I always think people like Des should be advising government. They should have a people's...
forum. To advise them
Mm.
on what it's like to be a real person.
Yeah.
Because I think some of them forget. I think most people, a lot of politicians, and you and I have met so many, they go into politics for the most genuine of reasons. But I think the higher up you go, the nearer to number 10 or to cabinet or whatever, do you lose touch with people like Des?
It becomes a job, doesn't it? And the interesting thing about
career
people,
path.
career. People like Des, who I think teachers are fascinating because they see a whole spectrum of... They're not just a teacher and dealing with their own lives, they're also dealing with a whole range of students, and some of whom are in very awful positions. And so they do get to see the whole gamut of society within where they are teaching.
Oh,
So
in many
actually, they'd be
cases,
great
teachers
advisors.
are social workers,
Yeah, they are now.
sociologists, you know, they have to learn about management, and, of course, they have their own specialism as well. So they've dealt with human beings all their career, haven't they?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's such a good idea.
People's Forum of Teachers, not a bad idea. OK, let's move our attention to the northwest, should we? And in developments overnight, Merseyside police have confirmed that a second man has been arrested on suspicion of the murder of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Corbell.
Yes, he's a 33-year-old and he's been detained by police now. He was also arrested on suspicion of 2 counts of attempted murder.
Let's get the latest from our northwest reporter, Sophie Reaper. Morning to you, Sophie. What can you tell us?
Yeah, a very good morning to you both. Well, as you just said, there has been a second arrest of a man on suspicion of the murder of 9-year-old schoolgirl Olivia Pratt-Corbell. 33-year-old man from Dovecot was arrested during an armed raid yesterday on Lunsford Road. Now, that's just a 3-minute drive from where I'm stood here on Kings Heath Avenue, which is where the attack took place on Monday night. And that comes after Merseyside police also arrested a 36-year-old man yesterday in Liverpool's Huyton area. He was also arrested on suspicion of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Police have also released an image of a black Audi Q3, which was the vehicle which transported the gunman's original target, convicted burglar Joseph Nee, from the scene of the crime to hospital. The police have also, they've said that the vehicle has been located and seized and it will now undergo forensic examination. Police have appealed to anyone who may have seen that vehicle in the days leading up to the attack to come forward with any information so that they can try to find the person behind the death of the 9-year-old schoolgirl, Olivia Pratt-Corbell.
OK, Sophie, for now, thanks very much indeed for that
Thank you very
update.
much. It's interesting to see that things are moving. Isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got lots more to come, so do stay with us. Fancy a trip to the moon?
Yes,
we'll
please.
be finding out more about that because it may be happening sooner than anyone thinks.
Good morning, Alex Deakin here with your latest weather update this weekend. A bank holiday for many of us is looking pretty dry, with most of us seeing some decent spells of sunshine as well. High pressure is slowly but surely moving in. There are some weather fronts which are closing in on the northwest. They'll increase the cloud here today, but generally it is set fair. Now, I say generally because there will still be 1 or 2 scattered showers around, certainly across parts of northern England this morning, and even this afternoon as we go into the evening across parts of the Midlands and southern England. 1 or 2 showers here and there, but I say most places aren't going to see those showers. Many will just stay dry and bright with sunny spells. In the sunshine, feeling pretty warm by this afternoon. It's got a fresh start out there this morning, especially in western Scotland, but by this afternoon, 18, 19 here. Elsewhere, we're over 20 Celsius, and in the south, by this afternoon, widely into the mid-20s, so feeling pretty pleasant in those sunny spells. That weather front will bring a bit of rain to the north of Northern Ireland this afternoon and spread into parts of western Scotland, the Highlands, the Western Isles, maybe into Argyll for a time before that continues to push northwards through the night. Otherwise, it's another dry night. Some mist and fog, just like we had last night, but that should clear pretty quickly on Sunday morning. Temperatures mostly holding up in double digits, so slightly warmer than last night, and Sunday will be slightly warmer than today. We will see a bit of a breeze just starting to pick up along the south coast. That's going to be a feature of the weather, more particularly into Monday. Will be quite cloudy across northern Scotland, still with some patchy rain. And again on Sunday, tomorrow afternoon, there might just be 1 or 2 scattered showers over northern England. But most places, dry and bright, sunny spells, a little warmer, widely over 20 Celsius. Again in the south, 24, 25, maybe 26 Celsius. Feeling cool on that south coast with that breeze though. And that stiff wind will be a feature of the weather into bank holiday Monday as well. Again, most places will be dry with spells of sunshine.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness, brilliant. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GBNews.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Morning to you at 6:27. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. Just a quick mention to Greg, who actually talks a bit of common sense in a way. He says, I don't care who gets into number 10, only what they do. Well, I suppose they're elected on the basis of what they say they will do, but I totally understand your point, Greg.
How about this then? Sally says, I am so sick of hearing about poor us with the cost of living and the energy crisis. 1947, the coldest winter on record, and I'm 10 years old. We had no heating at all because the miners were on strike, as usual, and central heating didn't exist in our houses. We were cold, but wrapped up warm as much as we could and went to bed early. We still went to school every day. Oh, and by the way, food was still rationed, because as a country, we were still short of food after the war. Get a grip, Britain. We don't have winters like Canada or other northern countries, so enjoy the sunshine while it lasts, and then prepare yourself for a few chilly months and make the best of it, and because you've then got spring and summer to look forward to, because they do always come round again.
Sort of fair point, Sally.
Well, she tells the story. 1947, she was 10.
I suppose the world has changed a little bit.
The world has
since
changed
then,
a lot.
But I
We
totally
expect
get your
more,
point. We do
I think,
expect
don't
more. A quick one from David. Good morning, Stephen and Anne. My wife, Anne as well, and I are watching from our home in Andalusia in Spain.
Ooh.
Another beautiful day out here, and we're thoroughly enjoying your breakfast programme. Keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, David and Anne.
It's lovely in Andalusia right now.
Yeah, but
Gary also says the billions spent on space is obscene whilst people go cold and hungry here on Earth.
Oh, well, is it? I don't know if I agree, but then I'm a space geek. It has, though, been over 50 years since the last lunar-related mission, but NASA is now ready, or sort of ready, to return a man to the moon.
Or a woman.
Oh, yes, well, it's going to be a woman, actually.
Oh, it will definitely be a woman in there, won't there? Yeah. A new mission will see a rocket launched from Cape Canaveral this Monday. And although it will be unmanned...
Or unwomaned.
Or unwomaned. Subsequent missions in 2025 could see man or woman step on the foot of... Step foot, sorry, not step on the foot of the moon. Set foot on the moon's surface.
That's the way forward. Let's talk to Dr. David Whitehouse, space expert and author. David, it's good to see you. Look, how excited are you by Artemis 1?
I'm very excited. As you say, it's As you've been saying, it's the first trip to the moon since 1972, the first time humans have left low Earth orbit for 50 years. And although this mission is unmanned or unwomaned, uncrewed, it is a shakedown mission of the capsule and the rocket to send it in the capsule in orbit around the moon for at least 10 days in a high orbit, so that everything is right. There is a mannequin in the crew seat, instrumented, so they know the environment, they know what the crew will go through. And in a year's time, there will be people on board. And as you say, in 2 years after that, they will actually be landing at the south pole of the moon. So for all of the people who've been writing into you and contacting you saying what they remember about 1969, a new generation, everybody was born since then, and that's 80% of the population plus did not live through the moon landings. They will have the experience of seeing a man and a woman on the moon during that first mission.
Excitement. A lot of people, I think, will be asking, well, if we never really thought it terribly urgent to go back to the moon, because frankly, when we got there, we just found a lot of dust and rocks. Why do we think it's important enough to invest all this money in now, 50 years later?
There are several aspects to going back to the moon. First of all, when you spend the money in the only place you can spend money, and that's in the economy. So the money you spent on this rocket and going back to the moon gets spent on jobs and salaries, and ultimately gets spent in companies, down the supermarket, on cars and on mortgages. So it fertilizes the economy with a high-tech workforce that take their technology and their skills elsewhere. But the moon today is very different from what we understood with the Apollo astronauts. I mean, we went there with relatively crude technology. We stayed just a few days. And with the better technology, the better computers, the better materials we have these days, we can actually go back, eventually stay for many months on the surface, understand the moon, and practice, if you like, for a trip to Mars. But you're quite right. If you do something like this that benefits the economy in terms of what it does for technology and for inspiration and bringing people into science and technology, which is what we need these days, it does have to take its place along the other things that we should be doing on Earth.
Why is the moon important when it comes to being a sort of springboard to Mars?
Well, the moon, we are fortunate in having the moon because the moon actually enables life on Earth to happen, or human life on Earth to happen, because it stabilizes the Earth's spin and it enables us to have a good environment. And there's an old expression in North America, no moon, no man. So it's very important, and everybody who's ever lived has looked up at the light of the moon. We're fortunate to have it so close. And you're quite right. Going to the moon is a relatively easy first step, where you can test the technology, where you can live in space, you can get away from Earth, you can be subject to the harsh environment beyond low Earth orbit, and you can experiment and develop the technology if you want to go on the much harder trip, the far longer, far more difficult, challenging trip to Mars, which is at least 20 years away. So the moon is a fortunate first step. And you develop the technology, and there's also, believe it or not, ice on the moon, which can be used for drinking, for irrigation, for oxygen, and even turned into rocket fuel. So if humans decide, and America has decided to do this, they want to go and explore the universe with people for the first time in over 50 years, I think it's a great thing, because, you know, I was very young when this happened in the first time with Apollo 11. I had to argue with my dad to let me stay up that Sunday night and watch a crude black and white television. And there was no way I was not going to bed that night. And I've never, ever gotten over it. It's changed my life. Yeah. And it's this landing in 2 years' time will change the life of more teenagers, in fact, of everybody, when they witness it.
Yeah, it will. It'll be very exciting to see. David Whitehouse, always good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.
I wonder if that will happen again.
Yeah, well, it will. You see, when you think of it in those terms, I've never seen man on the moon. It's never happened in my lifetime.
Oh, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And you never forget it.
And now we'll get to see it in full high definition,
Oh,
probably
yes.
ultra high definition.
I mean, those first pictures of Neil Armstrong going down the ladder and everything were so grainy, you could barely make out it was a human being. And then it switched through and they got a better polarisation of the signal, and everything was better. And, of course, they took film cameras with them as well and took the most incredibly high-definition movies and film pictures as well, which we now see. In fact, we'll hopefully talk tomorrow about a man who has dedicated years of his life now to going through all of NASA's archive and tweaking them just so that the pictures are even better.
Oh, you can do a lot with this upscaling now.
Amazing, yeah.
That'd be great to see.
So, no, the thrill of the moon landing has never left anyone who was there at the time, and it would be great to relive it, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes. Well, it's something to look forward to. We need a few bits and bobs to look forward to in the years to come, don't we? Look, don't go anywhere. We've got all the papers heading your way in just a couple of minutes.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
.37 morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on your TV, on your radio and online.
It's time to go through the papers now. Joining us this morning, former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and author and journalist James Bloodworth. And James, in Hungary, they're worried that their women are getting too clever?
It seems so. So the Hungarian government's commissioned this report, and it says that if too many women go to if more women go to university, too many in their view, they're not going to be able to find husbands, and therefore they're not going to be able to have children.
Well, right.
Hungary has a problem with a...
Clever women don't want love, do they?
A million people have left Hungary in the last 10 years. They're having a kind of crisis around the birth rate. And the government is basically a very traditionalist government, thinks women should be staying in the home, really not working.
Well, if you've got a falling birth rate, it's a problem for a country, isn't it? We talked about Albania having the same problem. Italy has had the same problem as well. More and more women in Italy, for instance, are simply taking the decision not to have a family.
Yeah, it is a problem, and there is kind of statistics which show that women tend to marry across and up. So they tend to marry people who are with a higher or the same education level as themselves. But then I would suggest that the way to fix that is to help improve the lot of men and get more men into university.
Educate the
get men to kind
population.
of up their game in that respect, because I don't think it's really fair to say to women that you should not go to university. Or, I don't think any of us do.
My nana said to my mother when she was going to teacher training college, which is a long time ago now, said, educate, because a lot of people were saying she shouldn't go.
Yes. She was a woman.
Because she was a
No
woman.
place.
I said, educate a woman, educate a family.
Yes.
And she
surely
said that,
that's
but she
true.
said that back in the early 1960s.
That's very forward-thinking.
It's forward-thinking, isn't it?
Talking a lot of sense, because they're trying this policy, aren't they, in Afghanistan, stopping girls and women being educated. That's going really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't work. It absolutely won't work.
No.
That's
No.
sort of social engineering of the worst type, isn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's a very
If you want women
regressive
to have
solution.
babies, you need to make it easier for them to support those babies.
Yeah. Exactly.
And childcare, affordable childcare.
And encourage men to take as much responsibility as the women take for raising families.
And it's policies like this which maybe are why people are leaving Hungary in the first
Well,
place.
exactly. It does stink slightly, doesn't it? Dawn, tell us about Ozzy Osbourne. What's he saying? But it's made the front page.
We have scoured the papers, James and I, this morning to find the fun stories, and you do have to look.
you.
To be fair, this is the front page of the Star, who are at least having some light-heartedness on a bank holiday Saturday weekend. Right, Ozzy, I'm haunted by spirits. No, not that kind. This is Ozzy Osbourne, obviously Ozzy Osbourne. If you don't know who Ozzy Osbourne, I can't bother explaining it.
No, it would take a long time.
Yeah. Any case, he's given an interview saying that he thinks his Hollywood home is filled with evil and mystery figure haunts him in bed. I don't think he's talking about Sharon Osbourne either there. But his nickname, obviously, Ozzy's 73, his nickname the Prince of Darkness, and he's saying he panics over a stranger lurking in the corner of his wife Sharon's bedroom. He gets some I'm not using his language because it's a bit fruity, but yeah, basically he's saying his mansion and his bedroom in particular is haunted.
Right.
Meanwhile, wife Sharon says, well, I've never seen anything.
No, exactly.
I mean, Ozzy does have a reputation for maybe partaking of a few substances that might help you see things.
I would have thought so.
Yes.
But it's like a ghost story.
It makes a fun front page, I suppose.
Yes.
And as you said, that's what we need a bit of.
Yeah. Well, he also revealed in this interview that Harry gave up acid after talking to a horse, which told him to go away in no uncertain terms.
The horse did?
Yeah, the horse did.
Well, there you go. It's a good reason to do not take illegal drugs, ladies and gentlemen. James, what's going on with our very English vineyards?
So this story might be bracketed under the kind of lighter side of global warming. So climate change is generally considered a bad thing, but every cloud, as they say, we may be able to produce some fine vintage wines here because our climate is changing. So French champagne producers are stockpiling land in parts of Britain because they think it may yield some top-class sparkling wines.
Can they do that?
Yeah, I mean,
thought
they can buy
champagne
them.
had to be made in Champagne.
In Epernay.
Yeah, it had to be grown in that certain area.
Method champagne, though, isn't it? So it's a similar method. It's not using the champagne grapes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could be producing some more better quality wines here.
The French are coming over here and buying our vineyards.
But they are the experts when it comes to wine. But this this bodes well for the future in terms of our own wine production.
Well, we make some very, very good sparkling wines.
Very good wines.
Really good.
Kent and Sussex in particular, very good vineyards for sparkling wines.
Frankly, if we could call them champagne, if we could call them champagne, we would. We're not allowed to, but it's that standard.
English
very
sparkling wines, actually more expensive than some of the champagnes as well.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
Very nice thought on a bank holiday weekend when the sun's shining.
It is bank holiday, come on.
Dawn, tell us what Prince Harry's been doing.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have to have one royal story, don't we? This one's from the Daily Mail, who are obviously no great fan of Harry.
I really want to like Prince Harry still, and I'm finding it ever more difficult.
This is, well, absolutely, I think you're right. This is our... the hypocrisy of Harry the eco-warrior. Duke of Sussex was spotted arriving at a California airport before his private planes are idling on the tarmac for 30 minutes. It's a $7.5 million private plane for a 90-minute trip to play polo.
But he went in an eco car to the airport.
Yeah, but his bodyguards didn't, and they were carrying all the stuff behind him. So he went in the eco car, and then he offset that by flying in a private jet on a 2-hour flight. He could have got a commercial airliner to play polo. And then he tells all of us to worry about our week in Spain and feel guilty for getting on our budget airline.
Yeah.
It's hypocrisy,
6 tons of
isn't it?
CO2. Which is about as much hot air as Meghan Markle's latest podcast.
Has anybody listened to that yet?
A bit.
I've read a transcript.
I read a bit
Cringy.
Yeah,
is it really as bad as they said that she didn't interview whoever it was?
Serena
Williams.
She didn't really interview her, but just talked about herself to her.
Australia.
Really?
I was actually very interested to hear what Serena Williams had to say about being a woman in sport and how ambition it's deemed unfeminine in sport. I was actually genuinely interested in that subject matter, and all I learnt was a lot about Meghan Markle. I think she spoke 1.5 times more than her interview subject.
Really? Oh.
There you are. It leaves you speechless, actually, doesn't it? More and more. James, tell us about daydreaming. We should be daydreamers.
Yeah, so daydreaming, I mean, this is something I was told off about in school, but it's actually quite good for you in terms of creativity and, you know, busy lives. We can kind of find less time to daydream, but researchers say we should give it a go. It's
Give it a go?
Yeah, give it a go.
Well, I mean, bosses will be happy with that then.
Not right now.
Hold on a minute, I'm tuning out.
We spend kind of less time with all the distractions we have nowadays, smartphones. We spend less time just kind of sitting and being contemplative
in our own heads.
And I find personally with my writing, it can actually really help to break creative blocks. And many people will, it says, enjoy more than they realise just sitting and kind of staring into space.
Yeah.
But that's true.
I can kind of see that, though.
It's true, because, I mean, you know, even when
weird,
we were on holiday the other week, I mean, you want to sit and gaze out of the sea, the sparkles on the sea, you know, the pine-clad covered hills, and then your phone goes and you go, oh, just pick my phone up. And it's like suddenly you've lost it.
I was in the car on my way home yesterday, and sitting at traffic lights, basically, and there was this screaming noise coming from a child nearby, which made me look and have a look. And this kid was in a pushchair, absolutely screaming its lungs out. It was really annoyed about something. It was sort of angry scream. And so I had a look at the mother or nanny or whoever she was. She was pushing the thing and she was on her phone, pushing the... And then there was another child behind her just sort of lolling along. And she was completely on another planet, the mum or the nanny or whoever was in charge, on her mobile phone with 2 screamers. And I just thought that this is what the world is coming to.
Yeah.
So then I started looking at other people who were just walking past, and everybody was on a phone.
Everybody.
Everybody was.
You have to dodge people on the street now as well. That feels like quite a recent thing where even walking around, everyone's on their phones now, and you're kind of weaving.
And if you see someone hovering on the curb and you're driving, you know, you're really aware, are they going to step off the curb or are they not? Because their concentration isn't even on the roadway or the path. It's on the phone.
Phone detox.
Phone detox is not a bad thing. Mind you, they can be used for...
Says a man who's got 2 in front of him.
No, this is a... No, this is a medical device,
of course,
this one.
yes.
Look, it says this is a medical device on it when you turn the screen on. There you go, it controls my insulin. There you go. Dawn Neeson.
Sorry. Dolly daydream.
Washing clothes. And tell us about this West Brom striker who's made what I would call a student error.
Oh, it is. Well, he's only 22, bless him. It's a bit of fun. It's at the end, finally, on your bank holiday Saturday. This is footy star Daryl Dike, who plays for West Bromwich Albion. He's injured at the moment, £7 million. He's only 22. He's a US international, but he was having trouble with some of the English translation, even though he's American. So basically, he's been washing his clothes using dishwasher tabs for the last 8 months.
Well, you can. As long as it hasn't got bleach in it, yeah. Yes, you can.
You've done this?
It's more or less, yes. It's more or less the same stuff. You know, when you run out of washing stuff for the washing machine and there's no time to go out and get anything, and I've looked at the stuff I use for the dishwasher, and it's got no bleach in it at all. Just squirt of that does the trick.
But you did it on purpose, though, Anne, right? Yeah, OK. Well, he just didn't realise that despite his dishwasher tabs having a shiny glass and a shiny plate and says,
detergent is detergent at the end of the day.
I do know washing up liquid definitely doesn't work in the dishwasher. So I've tried that and soap suds all over the kitchen.
No.
That does not work.
Did your clothes come out with a lovely bright shine?
Yes, all glossy and gorgeous. No,
it's
you have to be sensible. You have to.
I might try it on my hair if that's the case.
No, I wouldn't do that. Sort of.
No.
What's the matter with
No, you can't say it's the same thing.
But it is. It's detergent.
No. You're going to have to try it now. You're going to have to go home.
Not in a million years.
Say to the other half, darling, we're going to save money by using dishwasher tabs in the washing machine. And
do you know why they put them in pods? You know, to get you to use more. Because you don't need to use anything like the amount that's in a pod.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yes.
Can you have a bath with them as well? Can you put them in the bath? Like
well, you could try. Would you report back? I doubt it.
Washing up liquid in the bath.
Have you done that one?
Yeah, I did that when we were kids.
No, you see, that
dries out your skin, though, doesn't it?
No, it's very drying, yeah.
I don't know. I used to get a lot of bubbles, though. That was when we used to have Squeezy. Do you remember Squeezy?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can say that now because it doesn't exist anymore.
Do you
but
remember
used to
Matey?
Matey?
Matey. Yeah, Matey's a bottle of fun. Yeah.
There you go.
We all overuse
Anyway,
detergent.
Happy days, happy days. Dawn, James, thank you both very much. Thank you. Good to see you.
The things we get talking about when we're trying to do lighter things in the programme to cheer ourselves up. Who would have thought?
Let's bring you up to date with one or two stories. Drop-off fees. Oh, here you go. This will get you goat. Drop-off fees have increased at 2/3 of the UK's major airports since 2019. That's according to the RAC. 16 of 22 airports analysed have introduced or raised charges for dropping off passengers in the last 3 years. Company says drivers will be stunned by the sky-high fees.
The government has announced a new plan worth £56 billion of capital investment to crack down on sewage spills. The investment, unfortunately, would be spread over 25 years. Under the proposals, water companies in the UK will face tough targets to minimise pollution.
US pharmaceutical company Moderna is suing Pfizer and BioNTech for allegedly copying their COVID vaccine. Moderna says the mRNA technology was copied, saying they patented the technology years ago.
Stephanie's joined us, and I think she's wearing a tiara.
Yes, I am.
It's absolutely fabulous, darling.
I feel like a princess today.
Oh, you
love
are.
it.
Especially for Stephen, I've missed you.
Missed you
look
too,
so
darling.
Well.
I've missed...
I don't know if we can get a really good close-up on Stephanie's tiara, but that is...
Very nice.
That works.
Like
Very nice.
It is. Love it.
I've got one thing to say to you, Stephanie.
I'm not in trouble, am I?
No. Contenders.
Are you ready? Yes, we are, because Gladiators is coming back onto the screens next year in 2023 on BBC. It's been 20 years since it's been on our screens, but while it was on between 1992 and 2000, the viewers were amazing, and it produced household names like, Lightning, Storm, Hunter, Wolf, all these people, even though if you think where they are now, most of them are not as athletic as they were.
But they were huge at the time.
They were, and
Massive.
it was
such fun going.
It
To
is.
take my kids.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
you?
At the NEC in Birmingham, we used to go and sit along the front row, and it was a wonderful. It was a birthday treat. It was an anything treat. Sitting along with our foam fingers. It was fantastic.
And they're bringing it back next year, and it's going to have all the obstacles like the Eliminator and the infamous Travelator as well. So it's going to be an 11-part series.
Do you know,
next year.
health and safety? I'm even surprised they can even bring it back now.
I know.
Filling in that form to make that programme will be a bit of a work.
Is Ulrika Carr doing it again?
No, they haven't announced who the presenters are going to be, but I think it would be good if they brought Eureka back and they brought John Fashioney back, just to give
Just
it
to
that...
be there.
Yeah, that continuity. So it would be great if it does. But anybody at home, if you're thinking about Gladiators...
It's BBC, because obviously it was very ITV last time, wasn't it? Very, I think so.
Yeah, a lot of shows are mixing and matching, because now you've got Big Brother that's coming back onto ITV, and then you've got Challenge Annika, which is going on back onto Channel 5. So it seems...
Challenge Annika?
Yeah, it's coming back
with
on Channel
Annika?
5.
Well, Annika's going to be in the mix. She's not going to be sort of leaping out of a helicopter
like that would have been
she did.
fun.
But I think she'll be part of the sort of studio setup.
I used to love Challenge Annika and Treasure Hunt as well.
Yeah. All these nostalgic shows are coming back, and I think it's because we're so busy watching Netflix and Amazon now. I think TV producers are going back to what worked in the 90s, so it'll be interesting to see how Gladiators gets
Do you know,
on.
the other thing about that, which is good, is that if you watch your Netflix movies or whatever, it tends to divide the family up into what they, what Dad likes, what Mum likes, what the kids like to watch. So you're watching different things, probably on different devices in different rooms. Whereas family entertainment programmes probably gets watched by the whole family together.
Yeah, and I miss that, because I remember in the 90s, me and my family always used to watch shows like Gladiators, Blind Date, all that kind of stuff. And now it's
and you watch them as a family, don't you?
Now it's like Dad's watching football, Mum's watching EastEnders, and so bring the family shows back.
Yeah, no, I like that. Now, what's Keanu Reeves been up to?
Oh, gosh, how would you feel if a Hollywood star gate-crashed your wedding,
I'd be furious, actually.
Will you?
I would be, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I'd be like, this is my day, get out.
No, but hang on, if at your wedding, sort of, you happen to notice that Tom Hanks was there, wouldn't you say, come on over for a photograph?
Yeah, come over for a drink.
I don't know.
Well, this is what this couple
Well,
did.
that was the case for Nikki and James Road night last week. They were getting married in Northamptonshire at the Fawsley Hall Hotel, and James spotted Keanu Reeves in the reception. So he was like, "Do you want to come by for a drink?" And Keanu was like, "I'm a bit busy," but he ended up coming back and he took some pictures with the couple. But this is not the first time Keanu's actually gatecrashed
He
the
looks
wedding.
like a tramp who's just turned up at the wedding.
I know.
Doesn't he?
He was actually staying at the hotel, which is £266 a night, and it goes up to £495 a night. But it's not the first time Keanu has gatecrashed a wedding. He done it occasionally in a New York ceremony in 2018, and he done it again in California.
See, I'm sure he only does it because he's asked.
Yeah, he does.
People spot him and say, "Would you come in and be in our picture?"
Find it, but it's like 3 times. I want Keanu at my wedding.
You were hanging about with Idris Elba the other night, I saw.
I went to the Beast movie screen of his new film. It's a really good film. It's about him being in a safari with his 2 daughters and they get attacked by a lion, so it's quite vicious. Good CGI, so highly recommend you guys watch it.
What's it called?
Beast.
Beast.
It's hilarious. I saw a filming on the red carpet, and there's Idris. Oh, Idris!
It's like, I'm the celebrity, Idris.
No, he sort of gave you a big smile and a hello, didn't he? You and Idris are like that. Do you know Mary Berry?
Yes, I've seen her a couple of times. She is so sweet. I wish she was my grandma. I think
She's everybody's
she's the
grandma.
nation's grandma. She
Yeah.
is. But she's revealed that she's taken up croquet. I have to ask Aidan about it. He probably knows more about the sport than me. But Mary...
I'd love to know what he does.
But Mary had an incident last year where she broke her hip while she was gardening, and her GP told her, "Look, for the next 4 years, you can either do no exercise and potentially die, or you have to take up a sport, including walking uphill." And she said she's taken up croquet, which has helped her hip much better. And she's
Darling,
almost
we
90.
say croquet.
Oh, croquet, yes.
But she's
croquet.
87, so I suppose
Yeah.
the GP was thinking, you've just got to get more active.
Yeah.
And apparently she and her husband really
They're
enjoyed
taking
a
it
couple of hours
together,
doing croquet.
Yeah, it looks like a nice little
I fancy
game.
that.
Yeah.
Croquet's good fun.
Oh,
I
it's
could do it.
very civilised.
I could do it on my AstroTurf, couldn't he?
You
'Cause
could,
it's dead level.
You could, but you'd have to put the hoops through the
Yeah.
AstroTurf.
Oh, that would be.
Have you played it before?
No.
Oh, I've played cricket. No, it's good fun. It gets
It
you
looks
laughing. 'Cause You
good.
think it's easy, but actually it's quite
It looks
difficult.
better than cricket.
Oh, well, yeah. Fair point. Fair point. Stephanie, we'll see you in the
I'll
next
be
hour.
back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'm
indeed.
going to enjoy asking Aidan all about croquet.
Yes.
And see how much he really knows.
We shall see. Look, we've got much more coming up for you in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us.
Good morning, Alex Deakin here with your latest weather updates this weekend. A bank holiday for many of us is looking pretty dry, with most of us seeing some decent spells of sunshine as well. High pressure is slowly but surely moving in. There are some weather fronts which are closing in on the northwest. They'll increase the cloud here today, but generally it is set fair. Now, I say generally because there will still be 1 or 2 scattered showers around, certainly across parts of northern England this morning, and even this afternoon as we go into the evening across parts of the Midlands and southern England. 1 or 2 showers here and there, but I say most places aren't going to see those showers. Many will just stay dry and bright with sunny spells. In the sunshine, feeling pretty warm by this afternoon. It's quite a fresh start out there this morning, especially in western Scotland, but by this afternoon, 18, 19 here. Elsewhere, we're over 20 Celsius, and in the south, by this afternoon, widely into the mid-20s, so feeling pretty pleasant in those sunny spells. That weather front will bring a bit of rain to the north of Northern Ireland this afternoon and spread into parts of western Scotland, the Highlands, the Western Isles, maybe into Argyll for a time before that continues to push northwards through the night. Otherwise, it's another dry night. Some mist and fog, just like we had last night, but that should clear pretty quickly on Sunday morning. Temperatures mostly holding up in double digits, so slightly warmer than last night, and Sunday will be slightly warmer than today. We will see a bit of a breeze just starting to pick up along the south coast. That's going to be a feature of the weather, more particularly into Monday. Will be quite cloudy across northern Scotland, still with some patchy rain. And again on Sunday, tomorrow afternoon, there might just be 1 or 2 scattered showers over northern England. But most places, dry and bright, sunny spells, a little warmer, widely over 20 Celsius. Again in the south, 24, 25, maybe 26 Celsius. Feeling cool on that south coast with that breeze though. And that stiff wind will be a feature of the weather into bank holiday Monday as well. Again, most places will be dry with spells of sunshine.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
The reality of the energy price cap sinks in as millions of Brits work out how they're going to afford the huge hike in fuel bills. Money-saving expert Martin Lewis says lives will be lost this winter.
Good morning to you. It's 9:01 on Saturday, the 27th of August. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne, and we are fully into the bank holiday weekend, of course, so let us know what you're up to today.
We're live, of course, across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio. So wherever you are, if you're out and about enjoying the bank holiday, you can take us with you. Here are the top stories you should know about.
Well, with that news on the energy price cap that broke in the show yesterday, today we're hearing from you, our viewers and listeners, about how you feel when you hear about the estimated rise to your fuel bills. What are your plans for the months ahead? What do you want to hear from our leaders? Get in touch, let us know. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
There are new developments in the tragic shooting of Olivia Pratt-Korbel in Liverpool. A second arrest has been made of a man on suspicion of murder. We'll have the latest for you.
And, of course, we don't want it all to be doom and gloom today. We are still in the summer. The weather is due to be nice this weekend. This is Britain, and there's still a lot you can do for free, including just getting outdoors and enjoying our locale. The recent rain has brought some plants back into bloom, so things are looking a little bit better. Let us know what you're doing to make the most of the British summer. Send us some pictures as well. And also let us know what you can do in your area for free.
And great news for space nuts. Man and women are returning to the moon. Yes, you did hear that correctly, because after 50 years, NASA's new moon mission will launch from Cape Canaveral this Monday. And even though this particular mission is unmanned, it's the forerunner of another one in a couple of years' time, which will have a full crew. And they're going for a lunar touchdown. What do you remember from the first moon landing? How old were you? Where did you watch it? What did you think?
Exciting times ahead if you geeks like us. Anything you want to talk about, we would love to hear from you. Of course, as always, gbviews@gbnews.uk.
One of the other stories I saw was of a man who's digging up his back garden because he's doing an extension to his house in Portugal. Right?
Right, fair enough.
So when he's digging away, he realises that he's digging something interesting. He's found something interesting in his garden. And it's only the fossilised remains of, it turns out to be the biggest dinosaur find in Europe so far. It's look at that. That's where students from the local university have now come and they're helping him obviously completely unearth it. It is huge. It is of a brachiosaur. And a brachiosaur, if you've ever watched Jurassic Park, a brachiosaur is one of those, there you go. One of those enormous creatures, absolutely gigantic. And they think this fossil is absolutely intact because they're saying it looks as though it lay down and died in his garden and has never been touched since. It's still in that sort of formation. The thing seems to be huge and intact and obviously never discovered before. Isn't that amazing?
It's going to ruin his garden, though.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. I mean, what have you found in the garden ever? You used to hear, didn't you, sort of during the 50s, 60s, people who would still be digging the garden and find an unexploded bomb.
Oh, yes.
From the war. Yeah. And I used to know a lady who owned a house that had been built in Tudor times, and she was always finding little bits of Tudor things in the garden, like very ancient keys.
Really?
Things like that, yeah. Absolutely fascinating. I don't know if you've ever found anything interesting in your garden, but if you have, let us know.
Don't think I ever have, to be fair. Not that I can remember, so clearly not anything significant. I think what's interesting about this brachiosaur is that they reckon it's 150 million years old.
Well, you can't get your head around it, but can you imagine actually unearthing it and thinking nobody has seen this? Well, nobody has seen this ever. But this has never seen the sunlight, not for how many million?
150 million.
I can't get over it. Isn't that amazing?
Which is, I mean, how many millions of times longer is that than the humans have been on the planet?
Yeah. I wonder what he's going to do with the garden, though. I suppose he's basically just going to have to turn it over to the paleontologists until they've done their work.
I wonder if he owns it, the skeleton.
Ooh.
Because it could be worth a fortune.
Yeah, there's a huge trade in dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah, and something like this, because it's pretty much intact, so they think.
Well, that's what they think.
It will be, I mean, it's just going to be it's going to
I don't know if you can see the other shot of it with all the students there. You actually get, we'll have a look in a minute, but you actually get an idea of just how big it is, and this is just the beginnings of the rib cage that they are unearthing at the moment. Yeah. That dinosaur's now going to take over his life, isn't it, really? He won't be able to do anything for, years, probably, with his own garden. Still, he's got a good story to tell his neighbours, hasn't he?
Yeah, and actually, you see on the strap there, we say paleontologists unearth sauropod. We spelt paleontologist wrong. No, it's fine.
No. Because I wanted to see how it's paleon.
It's you spell it with an A. So it's P-A-L-A-N. And I only know that because my friend, Dr. Jane Evans, who's a geologist and paleontologist, has just messaged me.
Now, hang on. P-A-L, and then it should be A-N.
A-O-N. A-E-O-N.
Ah, I see. Yes, I see.
So there you go. Yeah. So you learn something new every day, because I wouldn't have known.
Brilliant.
So thank you, Jane.
Well done.
Thank you, Jane, for that. You never know who's watching. We've got all these experts watching all the time, which is great. So thank you, Jane.
But if you're digging anything interesting up in your garden, do let us know, won't you?
Yeah, and if it's worth a fortune, well, the money could be very well used at the moment. Because there's been a very stark warning from Martin Lewis, money-saving expert fella. He's been speaking after the announcement that the energy price cap was increasing to more than $3,500 a year from October. On the radio, he said this is a catastrophe. If we don't get further government intervention on top of what was announced in May, then lives will be lost this winter.
Now, that is said after Boris Johnson has also promised that there is financial help on the way, because he said that we're going to have a pipeline of cash.
Of course, we could see this coming, and that's why we've put the steps in place that we already have. And don't forget that although there will be more announcements next month, more cash coming from September onwards, you shouldn't forget that the pipeline of cash stretches out throughout the autumn. So there's going to be another £650 coming for every one of the 8 million most vulnerable households in October. In November, another £300 to help every pensioner, £150 extra for everybody who is entitled to disability benefits, on top of what we're doing with universal credit and the living wage, lifting both of those up. And so cash, there's a pipeline of cash coming through over the next few months and through the autumn and the winter.
Not a big enough pipeline of cash, though, for a whole lot of people, which I think is going to be the problem, which needs to be resolved.
It needs to be, as you said, a shed load, not a
Shed
pipeline.
load, yeah. I'm afraid it does. Well, look, news of the price hike, you will remember, broke during our programme yesterday. And today we want to hear from you, because we're going to be talking to, and have been talking to, our viewers and listeners across the morning, and just finding out what the impact is on you of all of this.
Yeah, first of all, though, our economics editor, Liam Halligan, explains the reason behind the price hike.
The government says it's working flat out to develop options to help cash-strapped households after this weekend's announcement of Ofgem's new energy price cap. Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi acknowledges that Friday's news of an 80% rise in average household energy bills from October will cause stress and anxiety for many people. But he puts the blame elsewhere.
Putin will continue to use energy as a weapon, as a way of getting back at us for the help we're putting into Ukraine. We need to remain resilient. We need to make sure that this isn't a sticking plaster, that for the long term we continue to help the most vulnerable who have no cushion, and that's what I'm determined to do, and we're working up those options for both households and for business for the incoming Prime Minister on the 5th September.
6 months of war in Ukraine have indeed pushed up wholesale gas prices as Russia's restricted supplies to countries assisting Kiev. As the Kremlin's turned the screw, Western European nations have been stockpiling gas ahead of winter, pushing up prices even more. Regulator Ofgem caps what energy companies can charge households for gas and electricity. Until last October, that cap was around £1,200 a year. In April, it rose to almost £2,000, but has now soared to over £3,500. So average household fuel bills from October will be almost 3 times higher than a year ago. Back in May, ministers announced all households will receive a £400 annual rebate on their energy bills. And certain more vulnerable families already on benefits may qualify for another £650 of targeted assistance. But the government faces criticism that since Boris Johnson resigned as Tory leader in July, the ongoing race to succeed him has been a diversion. Energy campaigners have told me a far more comprehensive support package should already have been in place, ahead of this higher Ofgem price cap.
We haven't got a new government. It's the same party. Really, it is absolutely shocking. It's a dereliction of duty to have sat on your hands and to watch this come kind of crashing towards us. I think, look, the urgent issue is to provide immediate support to people on the lowest income. That could be doubling the package that we had in May from then Chancellor Sunak to match the new reality. It could be even more than that. I think that's a no-brainer.
As summer ends, we face an autumn and winter of sky-high utility bills. Ministers will unveil more help, but only once a fresh Prime Minister emerges and a new government's formed after September the 5th. Any assistance package, though, will only partially ease, rather than fully offset, the pain of spiralling energy costs on cash-strapped households and the broader economy.
Liam Halligan there. Well, it is scary. There's no two ways about it. It is scary. So what can we do about it? Let's talk to Will Hodgson, consumer champion at How to Save It. Will, good to see you. Look, first and foremost, these figures are pretty terrifying for, just about all of us. So what can we do?
Well, the first thing is we can hope and pray there's going to be government assistance coming, because there's no way around it. People can't pay those bills. In terms of what we can do, now, I spent a decade in energy where the mantra was switch and shop around. The way to reduce your bill was to change your supplier. You can't do that anymore. The only way you can reduce your bill is to reduce your usage. So households need advice and tips on this. Ones I can put out there: reduce the flow temperature of your boiler. It's about 80 degrees as a default setting. Doesn't need to be that high. Getting it down to 50 or 60 can save you a couple of £100 per year.
There is often a thing on the dial that says eco. Is that what that would be?
It would be. I would recommend that people Google their exact boiler.
Yes.
The direction should be really straightforward.
So it's reduce the flow temperature.
Exactly. It's always too high, Anne.
Yeah.
Second one is...
Is that how hot it's making the water?
That's right.
So you're having it too hot and waiting for too long.
Right. In short. Second one, if you can just bring your thermostat down by a degree, that's going to save money too. But the truth is, these are drops in the ocean. What we need to do long term, while energy is expensive, is use less of it on a whole domestic level, which means energy efficiency. Britain has the oldest housing stock in Europe. Now, we can be proud of having built houses to last, but those houses are drafty, so it's time to insulate them.
Right, yeah.
I mean, what about those gizmos that you can buy that show you if you're still using, show you how much energy you are using?
Yeah.
Because often we have a lot of things on standby which are using energy that we're not even conscious of.
So smart meters will typically show you, when you've got this on and that's off. It can give you an indication about what's using most energy. But the truth is, that might be a load of analysis for you to do of an evening that most of us don't really want to do. It is a matter of fact that if you leave appliances plugged in, they will use some energy. So you might want to get into the habit of unplugging the bigger stuff if you don't use it for long periods at a time.
Unplugging or switching off the wall?
Unplugging.
Unplugging? Not even just relying on...
Even the standby mode is going to use some energy.
So I just need to unplug it. Yeah, well, I get that. But as you say, it is a drop in the ocean. Every little helps, but it's a drop in the ocean. In terms of vast amounts of government help, which, look, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. They can't not do it ultimately. What does that do to the market in all of this? The energy market? Does it become disruptive? Do they take advantage of that? I mean, what happens?
Well, the energy market looks nothing like the liberalised dream that was presented 10 years ago. So you've got, first of all, a price which is controlled in the form of a price cap. Second, you've got help going to people so they can actually pay those prices. This is not, on any kind of basis, a healthy market. One thing I would say about the market is what the government can do, short term, medium term. Short term, they're giving people the means to pay their bills. Now, that money is being skimmed across our palms and goes straight to the energy companies, which goes to energy producers, who are raking it in right now. What they can do in the medium term is the insulation. Now, I'm calling for a national insulation scheme. I think that and that alone is going to help us use less energy. Now, that is a permanent saving. The cheapest energy of all is the energy that you don't use. And that's where we need government help for the medium term. But that takes a bit of leadership, and leadership's been lacking for a while now.
It's interesting because we were talking to somebody earlier who was saying that the poorest people in the country at the moment use the most electricity or use the most energy or pay disproportionately more than the rest of us do on energy. And a lot of that reason will be because of bad insulation. They're probably living in drafty places with poor insulation, cheap accommodation, in other words.
Yeah. That's exactly right, Anne. So, I mean, an insulation programme...
How would that work, though? I mean, how would that be funded?
So we've taken a run at it a few times. You've got the Green Homes Grant. That wasn't well executed. You've got the Green Deal, not well executed. Now, I'm an optimist. I think the next PM's got the chance to be the first person to put a great insulation scheme in place. It means incentives. It means taking off the VAT from certain insulation schemes. It means training people who can actually do it. So this is, as I say, I think it is in our future, because Britain does have this old housing stock. We do have to feather our nests. So I expect action.
Yeah, you want that, but the new incoming Prime Minister is going to have to deal with handouts. Quick work now, something that's going to, yes, it may just be a sticking plaster, but at least it'll be there. They're not going to want to look at investment in some big project, are they?
I don't know about that, because, as I say, it's not just the handouts, something you're going to have to do every year. This crisis is not going to go away, right? It's the difference between giving someone a fish and giving someone a fishing rod. If you can get people to use less energy in their homes, they aren't going to need as much support the next year. So a bit of long-term thinking is absolutely what we need. And I think we should hope for it.
Provide jobs as well, wouldn't it?
Precisely. So economic boost as well. You're going to reduce bills where they're most needed to be reduced. You're going to add value to property, which everyone wants. And you're also going to stimulate the economy where we could be entering a recession. So I think thumbs up to a national insulation scheme.
OK. Oh, well, there you go. Well, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. I suppose it could be rolled out pretty quickly.
It could,
actually.
yes.
For certainly, you get the ball rolling pretty quickly.
And we talk about, apprenticeships being needed. Well, how about apprenticeships teaching young people how to build insulation?
Yeah.
How to fit it.
How to fit it. Good way of recycling glass as well.
Is it installation?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Walking out now.
We're learning a lot
He
today.
did this last time. Do you remember? He did this last time. Just wanders out. Out you go.
He's had enough. He's had enough. Why not?
Pulling your leg. Go on, out you go. You go. Isn't it awful? I embarrass our guests.
Yeah, he really looked very perplexed.
He did look perplexed.
We'll be lucky if he ever comes back.
He better had. He's really good.
We'll move on. It's coming up to, it's 19 minutes past 9. Now, there have been developments overnight in Merseyside where the police have confirmed that a second man has been arrested on suspicion of the murder of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Corbell. The 33-year-old man has been detained by police. He was also arrested on suspicion of 2 counts of attempted murder.
Well, let's get the very latest from our North West reporter, Sophie Reaper. Morning, Sophie.
Very good morning to you both. Well, it's been 5 days now since the murder of 9-year-old schoolgirl Olivia Pratt-Corbell, and 2 men have now been arrested on suspicion of her murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. The first we heard was a 36-year-old man was arrested during an armed police raid in Liverpool's Huyton area yesterday. Then a little later we heard that a 33-year-old man from Dovecot had been arrested on Lunsford Road. Now, that's just 3 minutes drive away from where I am here on Kings Heath Avenue, which is where the attack took place on Monday night. Police have also released an image of a black Audi Q3, and that's the vehicle that transported the gunman's original target, Joseph Nee, from the scene of the crime to hospital after he had been shot twice. The vehicle arrived shortly after the attack to take Nee to hospital, leaving behind a dying Olivia and her mother, who was wounded. Merseyside police say they have the Audi and that it will now be forensically examined. They're asking anyone who may have seen the vehicle in the days leading up to the attack to come forward with any information they may have. They say they are absolutely determined and they will do what it takes to find the killer of 9-year-old schoolgirl Olivia Pratt-Corbell.
OK,
Sophie, thanks very much, yes. Lots more to come, so do stay with us. We were talking earlier about detergent.
Oh, yes.
And whether or not you can use dishwasher detergent in the washing machine for clothes. And I said I have done several times because detergent is detergent.
No.
And he says no. Well, we've got some very interesting GB views for you coming up.
Yeah.
Real crackers.
Good morning, Alex Deakin here with your latest weather update this weekend. A bank holiday for many of us is looking pretty dry, with most of us seeing some decent spells of sunshine as well. High pressure is slowly but surely moving in. There are some weather fronts which are closing in on the northwest. They'll increase the cloud here today, but generally it is set fair. Now, I say generally because there will still be 1 or 2 scattered showers around, certainly across parts of northern England this morning, and even this afternoon as we go into the evening across parts of the Midlands and southern England. 1 or 2 showers here and there, but I say most places aren't going to see those showers. Many will just stay dry and bright with sunny spells. In the sunshine, feeling pretty warm by this afternoon. It's quite a fresh start out there this morning, especially in western Scotland, but by this afternoon, 18, 19 here. Elsewhere, we're over 20 Celsius, and in the south, by this afternoon, widely into the mid-20s, so feeling pretty pleasant in those sunny spells. That weather front will bring a bit of rain to the north of Northern Ireland this afternoon and spread into parts of western Scotland, the Highlands, the Western Isles, maybe into Argyll for a time before that continues to push northwards through the night. Otherwise, it's another dry night. Some mist and fog, just like we had last night, but that should clear pretty quickly on Sunday morning. Temperatures mostly holding up in double digits, so slightly warmer than last night, and Sunday will be slightly warmer than today. We will see a bit of a breeze just starting to pick up along the south coast. That's going to be a feature of the weather, more particularly into Monday. Will be quite cloudy across northern Scotland, still with some patchy rain. And again on Sunday, tomorrow afternoon, there might just be 1 or 2 scattered showers over northern England. But most places, dry and bright, sunny spells, a little warmer, widely over 20 Celsius. Again in the south, 24, 25, maybe 26 Celsius. Feeling cool on that south coast with that breeze though, and that stiff wind will be a feature of the weather into bank holiday Monday as well. Again, most places will be dry with spells of sunshine.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GBNews.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
£9.25. This is breakfast with Stephen and Anne. Morning to you.
Morning, yeah. Now, the cost of living, energy price caps, fuel price rises. Today's headlines saying people are bound to die in the coming winter because of the cost of living crisis. There's an awful lot of doom and gloom around at the moment. But how do you stay up to date with the news without letting it drag you down?
Also, if you're a parent, how do you deal with your child over all of this? What can you do to reassure their insecurities? And they're bound to have some.
Well, I know, yeah, they always ask, don't they? And they can sense if mum and dad are getting upset about something. So joining us to maybe tell us how is Joanna Moncrief, who's a professor of psychiatry at University College London. Good morning, Joanna. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you for joining us. I must say, even journalists, hard-bitten journalists who I know, found, for instance, during the pandemic, the news just too awful to watch sometimes. How do you cope with the reality of what's happening around us without letting it drag you down?
Well, I think that's a good question, and it's not easy, and I think it's going to be very hard for a lot of people over this winter. And all I would say is I think it's really important that we keep in mind that this is not an individual problem, it's a collective problem, and it needs a collective solution. There needs to be a political solution to this, to the cost of living crisis. And it's really important that we don't start to just talk about it in terms of it being a mental health problem or, or increasing rates of depression and anxiety, which I think are likely to occur. But this is a good example of how those consequences occur because there are real worries in people's lives. And the solution is resolving the worries.
Yeah, that's what I was going to sort of ask next, in a way. I don't want to turn this into a political interview, but that's where you need leadership, isn't it? You need somebody to stand up and be a leader, embrace the problem, but try and sound positive at the same time.
Yes, I mean, the solutions to the problems have to be economic, and so it's down to our government, down to our politicians. What I would say people could be doing is taking whatever political or campaigning action they can. If people are having real difficulties with the cost of living, emailing their MPs, going to see their MPs, contacting their councillors, joining campaigning groups, going on marches. hopefully, if MPs get enough emails in their inbox, they will realise that, you know, something more needs to be done. So I think people need to try and take whatever action they can do at a political level. And as you say, we're dependent on our political leaders stepping up and doing something to help people.
In terms of our mental health, is one of the big problems that we just at the moment can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. We don't quite know what to do, and everyone's telling us it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Absolutely. I think that's part of it. And I think the other part of it is uncertainty, people not knowing what lies in the future, not knowing quite what level of price hikes we're going to see in the winter, and therefore not being able to plan for the future. We know that financial problems and debt are a real worry for people, that they contribute to poor mental health. When I worked in, 5 or 6 years ago, when I worked in a front door mental health service, there were already thousands of people coming in. This was in a fairly deprived area of London. Already thousands of people coming in through the door whose main worries were financial problems, how they were going to survive, and all the insecurities that go along with that, like can they pay their rent, can they pay their bills, how are they going to deal with debts they've already incurred. So I think uncertainty, like you say, is partly what will what will really make this difficult for people.
And I worry a lot for parents as well, who have children asking them, children who know, they sense what's going on. They sense that mum or dad are desperately worried about something, or maybe denying them something that would have been allowable before. And the children themselves are desperately unhappy, that their parents are unhappy, and that, again, they can't see a solution. What should a parent tell a child about this?
So I think you're right. I think children pick up on parents' anxieties and parents' moods, and I think parents need to be honest with their children without being too worrying, without being catastrophizing. So be honest, but try to also be optimistic and hopeful. You know, we have to hope that the government will step up and there will be an economic resolution, that there will be help for people who, you know, are in the most difficulty, and that therefore that hopefully at the end of the day things will be okay for people. I mean, you know, we can't let people starve or, you know, die of cold. The government stepped up in the pandemic. There are things that can be done.
OK. Joanna, good to talk to you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. It is difficult to know how we do keep on top of this. I mean, David's worried. He's been in touch. Morning, David. Says, I'm an 80-year-old widower. My total income, £800 a month. I have savings of about £3,000. Do I have to use all these savings before help is given?
Well, it's interesting that Nadeem Zahawi was making the point yesterday, and it's been reported in today's papers, that we talk about the poorest and the most vulnerable in society needing help. But he's saying, actually, you know, don't forget your middle classes, because they're struggling already. It's not just the poorest and the most vulnerable in society. Everybody needs a bit of help, because this is a worry. I mean, the sort of prices we're talking about are a worry to nearly anybody, aren't they? We were talking about how to save a bit of money. If you've run out of washing tablets to put in your washing machine, should you or could you ever use the tablets from your dishwasher? And I said, I don't use the tablets from my dishwasher, but occasionally I use the squirty liquid I use in my dishwasher, because detergent is detergent, isn't it? He doesn't think so.
I don't think so.
I think detergent's detergent. But John says, I've always washed my hair with washing up liquid. I'm pretty old and have a full head of nice, shiny hair.
You see, which is interesting, because Alan says, I joined the army in 1965, was paid £1 a week and used washing up liquid instead of shampoo. It was cheaper and lasted longer. At 73, I still have a full head of hair.
There you go. But this one absolutely takes the biscuit. Fancho says, when I was a child, my mum used Daz washing powder in my bath. It was like sitting on grit, as it wouldn't dissolve. It was really rough on your bum.
Bet it was.
But I bet you were clean.
Oh, I bet you came out whiter
Yeah,
than white.
glowing blueness.
Lovely. Keep your thoughts coming through. GP Views at GB News. And stay with us. We've got lots more to come, including wonky vegetables. Tell you more in a minute.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne, and we're, as you can see, surrounded by good old fruit and veg this morning. Have you seen wonky fruit and veg for sale at a reduced price?
Yeah, well, following the driest British summer in 50 years, misshapen or not so perfect veggies are going to become the new normal. Quite right, too. In chains like Lidl and Waitrose, embracing what they're calling wonky, or just irregularly sized, or maybe sometimes irregularly coloured as well, vegetables.
Yeah, potatoes, carrots, Brussels sprouts are among the worst affected, apparently, according to spurring the National Farmers Union to urge supermarkets to adjust to what they call stunted fruit and veg. Well, let's talk to Emily. Oh, now here we go. Because we've practiced this in the break. I'm going to get it wrong now. Vamprong, no.
Vampoprang.
Vampoprang.
Right.
There you go. You see, I need to improve my... Is it French?
It's Flemish, actually.
Flemish. Oh, well, no, I'm struggling. Anyway, she's
yeah.
Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Oddbox, a company on a mission to get us all to eat this sort of stuff. It's really good to see you. Why is it? I find it, because we used to grow, because we had no money, used to grow our own fruit and veg when we were kids and things. And, of course, it all comes out in different shapes and sizes. So why do we have an aversion to something which, you know,
isn't perfectly
a pepper, which may be ever
or...
so slightly green or whatever on one side?
Yeah, so we've actually been conditioned to think that if it looks too big, too small, or has cosmetic imperfections, it's not the same quality. Actually, whether it's too big, too small, wonky, it's exactly the same quality. In terms of eating quality, nutritional quality, there's no difference. And so, so at Oddbox, we're on a mission to tackle food waste, and we do that by rescuing what we call the too odd and too many directly from suppliers, from growers, and bringing that to people through a Vegbox model.
So what? So I mean, ultimately, traditionally, what would have happened to a pepper like this? Would it just be thrown away?
So not necessarily, and that's a great question because we know that around 40% of all the food we grow is wasted, and 1 in 4 of all fruit and vegetables we grow actually never reaches the stores.
No, 1 in 4?
1 in 4.
That's wicked, isn't it?
And so it won't necessarily be...
See, I like that pepper. That pepper is multicoloured.
Yeah.
It would add a real, je ne sais quoi to your whatever.
Well, it would, and actually...
It would.
Let me just have
a bite.
Yeah.
Mm.
I spent my entire childhood hating peppers, and I love them now. I don't think of anything else. And there's quite a thing of me on YouTube from years and years ago holding a wonky cucumber, so I might as well do it again. But, again, cucumber growers and farmers like them to be straight. And actually, what the heck is wrong with a wonky cucumber? It's not wonky, that's natural, actually.
It's natural, and they like it to be straight because actually in the wrapping machine, it works better when they're straight. Oh. So there's been some things like that which have happened, which makes it easier to package, to distribute the fruit and veg. But that means that a huge portion of the produce we grow gets wasted. And with that, it's all the resources which go into growing the produce which get wasted. And when we're in the middle of a climate crisis, that's we need to do something about it.
See, I'm intrigued by this. Oh, go on, Anne, you've got that. It's a bit more exciting.
This is an aubergine that I think most people would pay extra for.
And that's actually what we want to encourage retailers to do, to loosen the specs and to have only one category. There shouldn't be a wonky range separate from the normal range.
Just put it all together.
They should all be together.
See, what about this tomato? Is this technically meant to be too big?
Yes.
Because
it's either too big or it might be that it's surplus. Right now, courgettes have hugely benefited from... They're one of the only crops which have benefited from the warmth, and they've grown so fast and so big that there's a huge glut of courgette. Yeah. And so actually, our model is to encourage people to eat what's available, what's in glut.
My son gets odd box, and it's exciting opening the box, and then it's a bit of a challenge as well, because, for instance, you could get a great bunch of beets, and you think, I don't think I've ever done anything with these before.
Beetroot burgers.
Yeah.
I've got a great...
Exactly.
It challenges you to kind of expand your repertoire of cooking, and it's exciting. And actually, if you have young children, they love opening the box. It's like Christmas every week.
Yeah.
So we've allowed the food industry to sort of brainwash us into thinking everything has to be regular-sized, so it fits their idea of what a vegetable rack should look like. But actually, it's ridiculous, isn't it? This is how it would be if it came in from your own garden.
Yeah.
You grew it yourself.
If you grow your own, you'll know that actually perfect-looking fruit and veg is not the standard, and quite often you have more small and big.
Yeah, I was just saying, because I've just been in Spain, and they have boxes and boxes of tomatoes, twice the size of this.
Yes, they do.
And they would never take the perfect ones because they know they won't be as tasty. Actually, they want the ugly-looking ones, the wonky, because they are the more natural ones.
Yeah. Oh, that can make them tastier, can it? I mean, is the stuff that we're seeing, which is perfect, if you like, is some of that picked before it's ripe, before it's due?
So quite often, to make its way into the supermarket and still have a long shelf life, it needs to be picked a bit unripe. But that's irrespective of whether it's wonky or it's...
and we all know this has happened with tomatoes, hasn't it? They've bred the taste out of tomatoes because they have concentrated on the size and shape.
And the shelf life.
And the shelf life, yeah. Tomatoes ain't what they used to taste like anymore.
I'll tell you what, you get more for your money. Look at the size of this aubergine.
Now, what would you do with that? I'm not
very
fond of aubergine.
No, it's quite...
Find a way.
If you can sort of slice it quite thinly and fry it. It's quite nice with salt.
In Spain, don't they? Oh, yes, it's absolutely beautiful. That's a very good idea.
I love this, and I think we should all be looking at just using what we get and not having any...
And using what is in season.
Yeah,
and if there's a glut of something.
What is available. And when we waste the food that we've taken so much effort to grow, it's wasting all the resources, the labour, the water, the energy. And when we're kind of in shortage of water and energy.
Yeah.
We just can't afford.
And it's frankly immoral to waste food at the moment, isn't it? This is really
I think
nice.
that's absolutely right. This is really gorgeous pepper. Multicoloured pepper, gorgeous, ladies and gentlemen.
Really
You get
nice.
it from us. Look, it's really good to see you this morning, Emily. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. I just think it's lovely, all of that.
Very nice.
Really, really nice.
What have you made recently with vegetables? You just chuck them in a stir fry is the easiest thing. Anyway,
I did a nice sort of bolognese thing last night. I'm back on Slimming World after
holidays.
having a splurge on holiday. So it's all fresh sort of fruit and veg and things for me. So
that's good for you.
And you can buy it.
We should do more cookery, shouldn't we? On the programme?
Yeah, let's not fancy a bit of that.
Fancy that.
Anyway.
Right, we'll move on, though. It's 9:43. Now, a memorial motorbike ride is taking place outside the US Embassy in London today to mark the 3rd anniversary of Harry Dunn's death.
Yeah, now the US citizen Anne Sakoulas is accused of causing the death of the 19-year-old by dangerous driving. That followed a fatal crash in Northamptonshire, but she's never stood trial in the UK.
Alice Porter looks over the background to that fatal case.
On the 27th of August 2019, Harry Dunn was riding his motorbike to meet his father. He never made it. The bike collided with a car and he was killed. The car was driven by an American, Anna Sakoulas, who had just left a US base where her husband worked for the CIA. Police weren't able to investigate because she flew home to the US, claiming diplomatic immunity. The result was a transatlantic row, with Harry Dunn's parents fighting for Anne Sakoulas to stand trial in the UK.
She needs to just do the right thing and just come back and face what she's done, face us as a broken family, face our UK system.
They went to the US to raise awareness of the case and had a meeting with President Trump.
The President was very graceful and spoke very well to us. He listened to Charlotte very well. She spoke excellent to him and he was understanding. And I think he generally will look to try and resolve this in a way to help us.
But when the Crown Prosecution Service announced that Mrs. Sakoulas would be charged with causing death by dangerous driving, the US refused the extradition request. In December 2021, it was announced that Anna Sakoulas would face a virtual trial before a UK court, although discussions between her legal team and the CPS are still ongoing. 3 years on from his death, Harry Dunn's family say they'll continue to fight for justice for their son. Alice Porter, GB News.
That is so sad because you can't believe we're already talking about that anniversary.
No.
And
still no justice.
Still no justice, no. Oh, I do think Harry's mum is one of the most remarkable people. It's extraordinary how sometimes something terribly tragic can actually throw a challenge at somebody like Harry's mum, and she absolutely has become such a staunch campaigner, such a spokesperson, and so brave. Takes lots of courage.
It's Anne Sakoulas I wonder about, and she's comparatively young with a young family, and I can understand why, if she can stay in America, why she would want to do so. However, it's the moral question. Personally, I don't think I could live with myself.
No, and the problem is now that it's taken such a long time and we haven't even really got anywhere. Her name has become synonymous with, total negativity. She may, in fact, be a very, very nice person who, did a terrible thing that day. But it was an accident. And if she'd stayed and owned up and faced the music, then we wouldn't even know her name. We wouldn't even be talking about her. But now she's become sort of demonised. You could say quite rightly, but it's happened because it's been 3 years where she's fought coming back here.
Yeah. Anyway, look, we're going to change tack now and think we have a bit of a family time because our family is here. Ada McGee, Stephanie Tetchy to take us through the sport and the showbiz. Good morning, you two.
Well, they're already talking about what they're going to take, what they're going to cook when they take this lot home.
Yeah. God, actually, my dad grows aubergines in our garden.
What do you make
got a
with them?
massive one. We make stews.
This is
make
Gus,
it graves. Yeah, this is Gus. Hi, Gus. Hi, Dad. He makes fabulous aubergines, cucumbers, everything. Oh,
yeah, because I'm not terribly used to aubergines, so I was wondering what the heck you do with them.
Oh, you could do so much with them. Oh, I love aubergines. You can even make an aubergine pie as well.
Well, they're very fleshy, aren't they?
Yeah,
so there is a lot you can do. But all the others would be great. You just chuck them in.
Yeah.
They could fit in one of my soups, I reckon.
Oh, you make a lovely soup with some of that.
I still want to try one of your soups, Adrian.
We've never brought any in.
Peppers make fantastic soup, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they
Very
add
versatile.
such sweetness to soup.
Colour,
Yeah.
Oh,
They're so refreshing.
And courgette's a wonderful soup.
I love courgette.
Anyway, I'm going to bring in some soup in a few weeks' time.
Oh,
Please do, when there's a change of weather.
Yeah.
Actually, we should have a soup challenge where each of us has to go home and make an interesting soup.
Oh, I like
Try it out on the others.
So chestnut's my speciality, but I do pear and celeriac as well.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Smell it when you cut
He's
that
going to
fresh
win
celeriac.
already.
Yeah.
What would you
Lovely.
make?
I'll make a good leek soup.
Oh, that
Leek and
sounds
tato.
nice.
Yeah, I'd make a chunky leek and tato soup.
Oh,
yeah.
I would make an African soup, so
Oh, well,
it
that
would be spicy,
all right,
guys.
all right. Oh, this has
it
to
will
be
be
good.
spicy. Do you like your spice?
Yeah.
Can you handle your spice? Do you like
Yeah, I
spice?
can handle my
Don't
spice.
make it too revoltingly
Yeah.
hot.
Oh, no, it's handleable. It's
Okay.
You can handle it, but it's got a bit of a kick to it.
Just want a few of Gus's aubergines in there.
Okay, we'll have the great GB News breakfast soup challenge in the next few
off,
weeks.
yes.
A soup off. Brilliant.
Soup off.
Looking forward to winning that one.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, Mr. Sporty Spice.
Confident. Well, go on then. You better kick us off with some sport then, Aidan.
Yeah, no worries. Well, let's talk about cricket, shall we?
Yeah.
Because we don't often talk about cricket on this segment, but I think Ben Stokes deserves a huge mention.
Big Ben.
Big Ben, exactly. So he has been beset with problems with mental health in recent years. It hasn't stopped him performing. It did tail off a little bit, his performance on the field, but there's been a documentary out this week, a series of documentaries called Phoenix from the Ashes. The Ashes is in cricket reference.
Oh, yes.
You get that. They don't just throw it together. And he has laid bare his struggles with, panic attacks, thinking about giving up the game altogether. Now, one of the problems with mental health is that sometimes the burden of responsibility can lead people down the wrong path. It can lead people to exacerbate any feelings that they
more
have.
feelings of stress.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's always a risk when you then give someone the captaincy in sport.
Or it could be the making of them, couldn't it?
Well, that's exactly what's happened here.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happened here because his batting didn't hit his stride in the summer. The team was playing well, but yesterday it all came together at Old Trafford. And they're underway today, this morning at 11. It puts England in a good position to win the second test to square the series. Now, the thing is, he hit a magnificent 100 yesterday, so it was Ben Stokes and his partner was Ben Folkes. And then he whacked one into the balcony yesterday. I mean, he didn't break any glass, but he showed real defensive quality. He showed, he was spinning, he was doing all sorts of stuff, and it was a brilliant knock, and great to see him back. And it just coincides with the documentary this week. Just a pure coincidence, but we can all see it.
Didn't Andrew Flintoff suffer similar things? Sorry, I'm not because cricket fan, but he was quite open about his mental health struggles.
The difference with him, he spoke about it after his career mainly.
Yeah.
It's rare that someone would be at their peak and be talking about it, which is very brave, really. And then to go out and against that, and it's a great example because people can see his struggle on one side, but then they see him going out and see how he's moved on.
Taking that challenge.
Yeah, and he's moved on. You can have a successful life while being beset by these problems. He had some real issues, and it goes into real depth in the series.
Do you think cricketers are getting the support they need when it comes to mental health? Because I know footballers, it's quite open, but...
Yeah, I think cricket probably more so. You have to remember that the captaincy in cricket is much more important than the captaincy in football or rugby.
That's
You're involved in
interesting.
picking the team. Anything goes wrong, you blame the captain. In football, you blame the manager.
Yeah. Oh, talking of football,
Yeah.
what's Mr Beckham been up to?
So, obviously, yesterday was International Dogs Day. I
It
saw
was.
the cute puppy you guys had on yesterday.
Robin.
So, David Beckham used the day to get his dogs out. So, he released a video yesterday of him showing how he whispers to his dogs and how he gives them commands and they follow. So, hopefully, we'll have that up. But it was good. He had his 3 dogs, Sage, Fig and Olive. And so he was feeding them a biscuit and he was giving commands to all 3 of them and they were just all responding to them. And I thought, it's such a cute...
Oh, it's cute.
And he said to one of them, give me your paw, and he put the paw up.
Oh, bless.
Oh,
that's lovely.
You get so much love, don't you, if you invest that love in them?
Oh,
yeah.
I think they bring out... I think dogs and pets in general bring out the best in people.
Oh,
Yeah,
they do.
and
I'm
dogs-
not even a dog person.
Dogs particularly, they love to be trained, don't they?
They do.
They love to learn tricks and
Yes.
to respond with you and everything.
Absolutely.
I
And
find
you
it-
can see it on that video.
I find it fascinating how they can respond to, like, instructions. It's... How do you train them, man? Like, is it
You
a
have
lot
to be
of work?
patient, and I think, I don't know, this is controversial, do men make the best dog trainers?
I'll tell you what I've noticed in the
Oh,
last
think of
couple of
Barbara
years.
Woodhouse.
That's true.
Is it
What I've
Barbara
noticed in
Yes,
the last
Barbara
couple of
Woodhouse,
years,
yeah.
the society has adapted towards Britain's fascination with dogs. We've always been a nation of dog lovers, but I think it's kind of been more increased over the last couple of years. Could be because of the pandemic. They're an important source of company for certain people who are on their own.
There's also been a lot of extra abandonments.
Yeah, true.
there has.
True.
Which is a real shame. I know the dogs' trusts and things are really struggling at the moment.
But I found that even with my lovely little dog Ellie, who appears to love me because she follows me all around everything, the minute one of my sons comes home, she throws all her adoration at them.
Really?
Totally.
She sounds a bit fickle.
Yeah. Well, she is a fluffy little thing, you know. She's a bit of fluff. But no, she absolutely, totally follows them around, and they love to do to teach them stuff.
Oh,
that's more cat behaviour usually.
Yeah, is it the same for
they go where they've been fed?
Stephen?
Well,
because I know you've got your adorable Timmy.
My Timmy, well, he does. Oddly enough, he follows me about just never leaves me alone, which is lovely. I adore it.
It is lovely. It's quite unnerving sometimes, though, isn't it? Everywhere you go.
Literally everywhere you go.
A trusted companion.
Even when you get in the bath, he sits on the end of the bath.
Yes, yeah. Ellie just sits on the bathroom door and just stares. When are you going to get through this?
Here now.
Yeah.
I've got to talk about Britney.
Yes.
Because I know Aidan's a huge fan.
Oh, I know he is. He's got the poster up on his wall as well.
1999.
Britney is back. She's, after 6 years, obviously last year was when her conservatorship came to an end. So now she's released her new duet with Sir Elton John. It's called Hold Me Closer. I feel like they've released it at the wrong time because it's quite got a summer feel to it. Elton John was spotted performing it earlier in France earlier this week, which was quite good. It's quite catchy. Elton John said it was his husband David Furnish who actually said that he should do the track with Britney. So Britney seems quite excited that she's made a musical comeback because she's been a bit hesitant about launching her music career again. So it's quite a good one. Viewers at home, listen to it.
But you're right, it does look very summery as well.
Yeah, it is.
Conservatorship thing, I just couldn't get my head around it.
No.
Yeah.
None of us
it's
can.
very
It's happened before in America, particularly, hasn't it?
We've only got time for one quick 30 seconds.
Ooh.
And I just wonder, Aidan, if you're going to be putting yourself forward to be a gladiator.
You know what? A wolf turned up on my door a few years ago. Because I didn't realise I was living with his brother. He never let on.
You're joking?
He never let on. His brother was Wolf from Gladiators.
Yeah.
And then he came to the front door to help with some furniture, and I opened the door and it was Wolf from Gladiators. He lives in sort of Bromley area. He did at the time. And,
You had a gladiator help you with your furniture.
It wasn't me with my furniture. My friend was not. My friend was moving out. He'd done enough of me.
Now we find out what they're doing now.
And I called him downstairs. Oh, Jim, Wolf from Gladiators at the door. Oh. And he goes, I'll explain later.
Oh, brilliant.
They were the first celebrities for me, Gladiators. Yeah. Literally, I loved them like lightning.
It was good, solid fun.
Oh, sat next to the Wolf at a wedding.
Wholesome fun.
We're out of time, you two. Thank you. That is it from the family for today. But don't go anywhere.
We'll be back tomorrow, though.
Yeah, Esther and Philip up next.
Good morning, Alex Deacon here with your latest weather update this weekend. A bank holiday for many of us is looking pretty dry, with most of us seeing some decent spells of sunshine as well. High pressure is slowly but surely moving in. There are some weather fronts which are closing in on the northwest. They'll increase the cloud here today, but generally it is set fair. Now, I say generally because there will still be one or two scattered showers around, certainly across parts of northern England this morning, and even this afternoon as we go into the evening across parts of the Midlands and southern England. One or two showers here and there, but I say most places aren't going to see those showers. Many will just stay dry and bright with sunny spells. In the sunshine, feeling pretty warm by this afternoon. It's got a fresh start out there this morning, especially in western Scotland, but by this afternoon, 18, 19 here. Elsewhere, we're over 20 Celsius, and in the south, by this afternoon, widely into the mid-20s, so feeling pretty pleasant in those sunny spells. That weather front will bring a bit of rain to the north of Northern Ireland this afternoon and spread into parts of western Scotland, the Highlands, the Western Isles, maybe into Argyll for a time before that continues to push northwards through the night. Otherwise, it's another dry night. Some mist and fog, just like we had last night, but that should clear pretty quickly